Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday morning live stream. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, as you guys know, and for the next 3 hours, we're talking all things fantasy football regarding our Week 16 lineups, as many of us are just a couple of hours away from the start of Week 16 and hopefully advancing to the next round of the fantasy football playoffs. Yesterday's games were quite interesting. The late game, legitimately down to the wire heroics of the Chicago Bears certainly helping some of us. And then, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles on the other end absolutely doing what they needed to do. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, every single piece was relevant, which was happy. I was quite happy to see. On the other end, did not anticipate to see as much success from the run game of Washington, but nonetheless, these are the things that occur. Either way, over the course of the next couple hours here, up until 10 a.m. PST, we are answering any and all fantasy football questions like we do every single Sunday morning. But do not forget that the rankings that are sitting to the right side of the screen that I am pointing towards right now are up to date as of this morning. They do not include any players that currently have already played. So anybody in the 3 games that have already taken place this week, these are the available players that are left remaining. For a half PPR scoring format, my top 36 running backs, wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks and tight ends, top 12 kickers and defenses. So if you have any interpositional questions, hopefully these rankings can set you up for success. Now, in regards to all-encompassing rankings, like I have mentioned before, and like the graphic that eventually kind of pops up on screen suggests, for those of you guys who want my all-encompassing rankings, you can go ahead and find them via Patreon for both half and full PPR. Not only these positions, but additionally for the flex. So if you guys are interested, there's a link down in the description. And of course, for those of you guys who are members, those rankings have already been posted. For those of you who have gone ahead and supported via Betr by signing up over the course of this season, using code Andrew, making that first-time deposit, minimum of 10, making that first-time play, those rankings have also been sent out via email. Check your spam folder. Thank you very much. Okay, so without further ado, I know there are many of questions to answer. I, of course, want to get to that immediately. Do not forget that whether you send in your question via live chat and or super chat to include your scoring format, as it'll make it easier not only for myself, but of course other members of the community to help answer your questions. Thank you very much. Let's get into it, shall we? All right, let's go ahead and let's pop up the first couple super chats that were sent in today. All right, we're going to display them in the top left here for the remainder of the stream. And we begin with the almighty Howard, who says, "Hey, Andrew, who do I start in a full PPR, RJ Harvey or Derrick Henry? I would prefer to play Derrick Henry. I understand that RJ Harvey could theoretically have a little bit more value because of his exposure to receiving utilization. But I think the overall matchup, specifically taking on Jacksonville in comparison to what Derrick Henry will be facing today, the New England Patriots, who for 3 consecutive weeks now have been absolutely taken advantage of by not only Cincinnati, New York, but also Buffalo's most recent week in the running game. The expectation would be that Derrick Henry is not only the safer pick of the two, but I also believe he has the greater upside between the two. So I'll go Derrick Henry in that circumstance. Moving on to your next question, says Lamar or CJ Stroud. At this point, I'm going to go with Lamar. Again, I think CJ Stroud could be a very simple, 2 touchdowns, could end up getting to the 3 touchdown range, but ultimately, I think the rushing upside that Lamar could theoretically provide within the given week is what I am trying to chase after. This most recent week, obviously Lamar Jackson's utilization within the passing category, 12 passing attempts, is not a norm. That is an outlier, especially considering the Cincinnati Bengals could not score anything. But as you're taking on the Patriots today, it's expected to be a potential high-scoring game. It says, I want to roll with Lamar, but he's been cheeks as of late. No, I hear you, brother. Trust me, I hear you. But I would roll with the Baltimore duo. I'll go Lamar and Derrick Henry in this circumstance, Howard. Thank you. Appreciate it, my man. All right, we move on to a question that comes in from Ryan74089, who says, pick 1.5 PPR. We have Woody Marks, Waddle, Myers, or Hampton. Okay, so based on the reports that I read some, I would say 4 hours ago in the early hours of this morning, the expectation is that Woody Marks is trying to play and is expected to play. As to how much he is going to play as they're taking on the Raiders, and there's a possibility in which they blow out the Raiders, that could lead to less looks and touches for Woody Marks effectively once they have taken any sort of substantial lead. So I think there is some potential positives and negatives that could go in his direction. But in the event in which Woody Marks is in fact active and available for us this day, I would go in the direction of trying to play him over the alternatives here. In the event in which he is not available, let me see where I have the likes of like an Omarion Hampton compared to the rest of the crew. In terms of Omarion Hampton, and then you have Waddle and you have Myers. So the order at which I would go about this, if Woody Marks does not play, I would play Jacoby Myers second, Hampton third, Waddle fourth. That's the order at which I would deploy these 4.5 PPR. Marks 1, Myers 2, Hampton 3, Waddle 4. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, my man. All right. Woke up. Sends it a question. Says in a full PPR, Woody Marks, Harold Fannin, or Audric estimate in the flex. Let me see where I have Fannin in a full PPR comparatively. I believe I'll probably be taking the likes of, let's see here. Yeah. So as it stands, this is where it becomes a little bit tricky, right? In the case in which, well, let me actually make sure. I want to make sure I know when exactly the Texans are playing, because this actually qualifies for both of these questions, in regards to when exactly these games kick off, because you may not have the pivoting option if the Texans play. No, they do. Wait, let's see here. They do play in the early slate, correct? Let me see here. The Texans this morning are going to be playing at, okay, no, there it is. I knew there was going to be a problem here. Okay, so the Texans play at 1:25 p.m. PST. So in the case of Ryan's question and woke up question, and for those of you who have Woody Marks and are considering the potential of playing him or an alternative option, herein lies the issue. Considering he plays in the afternoon, it becomes a little bit of a more difficult position, because in the case of like Woody Marks versus Myers, well, beautiful enough for Ryan, Woody Marks and Myers both play in the afternoon window of games starting at 1 p.m. PST. So in the case of being able to decide between Marks and Myers, the availability is there, and you can go ahead and make that theoretical pivot if Marks is not available. Now, in the case of Woke Up Tilted, Woody and Fannin play in two different windows. So considering that is the case, and if you, let's say, for example, Woody was not to play in the afternoon slate, and you would have to theoretically, well, Estimate also plays in the morning slate. So in this case, if I was in your position, I wouldn't even risk it. I'll just play Harold Fannin in a full PPR in the morning slate of games, as I don't know if I can justify going after Woody there. And then if he doesn't end up playing, having to kind of deal with Nick Chubb / Jordan being the kind of combo duo at running back there for the Texans, I think there's too much inherent risk. So I'll just take Fannin in your case. Thank you. All right, E. Jackson, 5174, sends in a question. Jackson, thank you. Says in a full PPR, quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, and 1 tight end. We have Josh Allen, Bo Nix. Okay, beautiful. As of right now, obviously you should be playing Josh Allen. He is by far and away the best quarterback in fantasy. Looking at your running backs that you have available, you should be looking to play Gibbs and Chase Brown as your 1-2 combo. You've already played JSN, which is great. Alongside of JSN, I would suggest playing George Pickens and Cortland Sutton as my wide receiver 2 and 3. Then as I look towards the flex position, I would like to play Tedderroll and McMillan there in a full PPR scoring format. And then at the tight end position between Waller and Kincaid, again, I'm going to lean towards Waller in this case, even with Quinn Ewers, the third string backup quarterback under center. I would anticipate the matchup against the Bengals to be an advantageous enough position to which, even in the case in which we don't have Tua Tagovailoa out there, Waller should still be of a greater value point than Kincaid. Then we have, Tyler Loop at kicker. Thoughts? Picked up the Saints. Loop is a great play. I have him ranked as one of my top 12 kickers, and it'll be displayed as it kind of goes ahead and shows here in just a moment. And then the Saints are my number 3 defense going into the week. So in this circumstance, I think you're in a really solid position. Best of luck. I'll see you next week in the finals. You've got too good of a team not to end up winning this week. Thank you. D-Man 35 sends in a question. D-Man, thank you. Says in a half PPR, I'm going up against the best team. I need some upside. Quarterback Tyler Shuck, JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young. I have those guys ranked legitimately back to back to back. It would go Shuck 1, JJ McCarthy 2, and Bryce Young 3. As for your running back position, Michael Carter or Audric Estime, I do prefer Michael Carter in this case. I do believe that there is going to be a really solid volume of opportunity that goes in his direction. I think the matchup itself is also an advantageous one. So in all accounts, he should be settled for a pretty solid role here as an RB2 today. In terms of fantasy-wise, not as in like on his team. He's going to be the clear and away RB1, but he will have fantasy value as a top 24 running back. As for, I need 3 wide receivers, we have London, Ladd, Evans, and Tataroa. I think Ladd McConkey is the odd man out. I think all your other alternatives, playing Drake London, Mike Evans, and Tataroa McMillan, would be the play in which I go in that direction. If I got any sort of word that like Drake London was going to be on a pitch count, maybe I'd feel a little bit less confident going in that direction. But even in the case in which he is, Ladd McConkey looks like he's been playing on a pitch count for the last 6 weeks now in terms of the lack of volume he has seen in terms of targets. So that in itself, I mean, there's a very high likelihood Drake London shows up today, goes for 100 yards, and does what he normally does. So I don't really want to miss out on that potential and that possibility as you're taking on the Arizona Cardinals secondary that has 2 of their starting secondary members out. So I'll take London, Evans, and McMillan there. D-man, thank you. Trevor Melville sends in a question. Trevor, hope you're doing well, my man. Says, in a full PPR, I need 3 out of Fannin, Ladd, Brees, and Rico. Yeah, let me see where I have them ranked in comparison to one another. All right, so in the case of Fannin, where's Ladd McConkey? Okay, Rico's there. Ladd McConkey's there. And then Brees Hall. Where is Brees? Yeah, so as of this current iteration, my highest ranked players are Rico, Fannin, and Ladd. So Brees Hall, I'm assuming this is Brees. There's no R there, but I'm assuming that is in fact what you meant originally. Brees Hall would be the odd man out in this case, in a full PPR scoring format. I think my number 1 and 2 option would theoretically be Rico and Fannin in this case. And then it's pretty much a toss-up between Ladd and Brees. And for right now, I'd rather just play Ladd and McConkey taking on the Dallas Cowboys secondary rather than Brees Hall in this circumstance. Thank you. Michael Susmith, 5289, sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, start 2 out of Ladd, Wanda Robinson, Michael Wilson, Kenneth Gainwell, or Michael Carter. Okay, you've got a lot of really good options in this case, especially considering it's a full PPR scoring format. I think, okay, first and foremost, Michael Wilson is who I want to play. And considering the report that I read as well earlier today, earlier this morning, and of course, what we've heard over the course of this week, it seems as if the Arizona Cardinals want to kind of slowly ease Marvin Harrison back in. And based on the words of Marvin Harrison, he said he's okay, he's good to go, but like good enough, not to the point to where he's at a full healthy capacity. He's had limited participation to practice, nothing at a full extent. So I do believe that Michael Wilson's role as the primary number 1 receiver should still stay intact. Now, again, there is going to be opportunity that is going to be vultured and taken away from the likes of a Marvin Harrison, but Michael Wilson should continue to maintain as the wide receiver 1 of Arizona as for today. So got to fire him up for sure in this case. So that would be my number 1 priority in this situation. Now, looking at, let's see where I have Gainwell, because Gainwell, I do believe, is a more valuable prospect than a Michael Carter, considering 6 receptions and 4 of the last 5 games here. So when I look at the potential of him versus the field, I do have Kenneth Gainwell as my second highest ranked player. So the order at which I have these in a full PPR would be Michael Wilson 1, Kenneth Gainwell 2, Ladd McConkey would be number 3. Then would be Michael Carter 4 and Wanda Robinson 5. So my top 3 suggestions would be Wilson and Gainwell, ever so slightly ahead of Ladd. I have literally Gainwell 1 spot ahead of Ladd McConkey, who's 3 spots ahead of Carter. Thank you. And then it says also, would you play Gainwell or Carter over Henry or Chase at running back? I wouldn't. I think Henry and Chase are more valuable. But I think, again, playing Gainwell alongside of Michael Wilson is the appropriate play as for this week. Thank you, Michael. Keloid sends in a question. How you doing, brother? Says in a PPR, Woody, Chase Brown, Henderson, Jordan Addison, pick 2. I think this is very simple. I'm going to play your 2 healthy running backs who have been incredibly consistent of late. Travion Henderson and Chase Brown got to be in your lineup. They're the studs that have gotten you to the dance, and just let them continue to carry you to the fantasy football championships. Thank you, Keloid. Knee Jerk sends in a question. Hope you're doing well, brother. Says half PPR. I don't know how you were able to get this little half. logo here, but congratulations. It has made my life easier to read it. Says the Colby plus Myers. Yeah, exactly. Colby Parkinson plus, I'm assuming that's Myers, the kicker for the Seattle Seahawks. Certainly probably put you in a rough position to start on Thursday. Let's see what the rest of your lineup consists of. It says lineup: Jacoby Myers, Tedero McMillan, Amon-Ra. Okay. We have Kenneth Gainwell and Judkins, Waller in the flex. It says Jaguars defense options on my bench. We have Genty, we have Wandell, we have Pierce, Jacoby, Slayton. Okay. Well, you're already playing Jacoby, so I don't think he's on your bench. Waiver wide receivers, we have Coker, AD Mitchell, Mooney, Franklin DK. Running backs, Carter, Stevenson, Algier. Defenses, Falcons, Giants, Titans, and Vikings. Okay, so as of right now, in terms of defenses, the Jaguars and the Vikings I have back-to-back. I don't mind the idea of keeping the Jaguars here. I do have Vikings one spot ahead of them, but I don't feel the utmost confidence to where I have to make that specific swap. In regards to your lineup as a whole, I mean, obviously you're playing Jacoby Brissett. You have Tedero McMillan, Amon-Ra, Judkins, and Gainwell. I would probably play Jacoby Myers over Waller in this circumstance. But if you want to keep Waller in there and there's not a tight end spot on your roster, then so be it. But yeah, that's the only swap that theoretically I would make. Let me see where I have Myers compared to... Yeah, I have Myers ahead of Waller. So that's the only theoretical swap that I would make in your case, knee jerk. And then I would also consider picking up Carter and playing him over to Judkins. That would be the only other additional swap that I would make. Thank you. All right. Chris Cross 120 says, good morning, Andrew. In a full PPR, I need two between Fannin, Estime, Carter, or Hampton. I already played Watson and Parkinson, so I need a little upside. I think the upside that I would be chasing is in the direction of Fannin and Carter. I think Estime, again, him and his overall split with Hull is really an undetermined potential of touches to where I don't know if I can outright trust him. I think Omarion Hampton could be a solid play, has to find the end zone. I think the receiving utilization that Carter will be exposed to comparatively to the field makes him the more appropriate play at RB. And then Fannin has to start. With David Njoku out for another consecutive game, I'm anticipating 10 targets and hopefully a bunch of receptions over the course of today's game. So Fannin and Carter are my suggestions. Thank you. Alex Ruiz, 5396. Thank you, Alex. Says PPR, pick two, Carter, Estime, BTJ, Ramondre, and Schultz. This is an interesting one because off of immediate glance, I believe I'm going Carter and Schultz here. Let me see where I have Dalton Schultz in a full PPR. I think Schultz's value in terms of just being a consistent 10-point contributor is something that I don't want to pass up on the potential of. Yeah, that's the direction I'd go with. I go Michael Carter and Dalton Schultz as my number 1 and 2 option. I think your third best option, theoretically speaking, in this circumstance, it probably ends up being Audric Estime or BTJ, but truly, I don't really trust either of the two. So I'll go Schultz and Carter there. Thank you. Justice Fair 46, says full PPR 12-team league, Burrow or Dak Prescott. I'll go with Burrow in this case. Again, I do think that there's going to be a pretty good advantage in the direction of Joe Burrow with T. Higgins back taking on a Dolphins team who will be functioning with a third-string quarterback. I do believe that Burrow is slightly the better play than a Dak Prescott. Again, I think the matchup for Dak Prescott against that Chargers secondary that's played as well as they have is what scares me a little bit. So I'll go in the direction of Burrow there. As for Andrews or Gadsden, as of this week, I will go with Gadsden there. Again, the overall utilization of Mark Andrews is not significant enough in terms of target volume, especially down near the red zone, where typically is where Mark Andrews has had to find himself an abundance of success in order to be fantasy relevant for the last couple of years here. So in the absence of touchdowns, it really is difficult to trust them in a full PPR compared to Gadsden, who has found himself a lot of success this season against zone coverage, which he'll be facing about 80% of the time over the course of today's game. As for pick two between Hall, Evans, Wando Robinson, and Gainwell, in a full PPR, Evans and Gainwell would be my two highest ranked players. Thank you. Since I lost Rice and Adams this week, started Jacobs. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you and your family as well. Evans and Gainwell would be the suggestion as for the finale of that question. Thank you. Trey sends in a question. Trey, thank you very much. Says, I need some advice, please. In a full PPR, I started Swift and I have Achane, I need a flex between Dowdle, Judkins, Gainwell, Michael Carter. Okay, so of the availables here, in a full PPR scoring format, I think there could be a discussion had regarding the potential of playing Gainwell instead of Dowdle, because my immediate thought is I'm going to play Dowdle in this case, taking on Tampa Bay's run-stop defense that, again, has suffered over the course of the season, especially of late, has been an advantageous matchup. Again, I mentioned it on this most recent Tuesday running back rankings video in regards to the potential of what Dowdle could produce, especially considering Chuba Hubbard was not as impactful this most recent game, and I would assume going forward into this matchup should see very similar split of opportunity. Over the course of since week 5, it's a defense that's allowing 4.9 yards per carry to running backs. And in the last 2 weeks against Atlanta and New Orleans, 80 plus yards and a touchdown minimum. And I would assume that touchdown potential revolves around Rico compared to the field here, which again as we kind of spread across the board, there's less and less of a likelihood of touchdowns from Judkins, Gainwell, and Carter effectively. So I could consider playing Gainwell there. In terms of the separation between him and Rico Dowdle, I mean, I have them number 14 and number 17 in full PPR, but I'd still go Dowdle in this case. Says start Purdy or Lamar Jackson. Considering Purdy did lose Ricky Pearsall, I'm going to go Lamar Jackson in that case. I think Purdy is still a safe play, and I think he's a solid top 10 play as for the remaining quarterbacks that are still out there. But losing Ricky Pearsall, I think, does make a huge difference. And I do believe it does diminish his value for fantasy purposes. Thank you. Mr. Nick sends in a question. Thank you very much. It says full PPR, Knicks or Brissett? Yeah, I'm going Jacoby Brissett there. Again, the rankings that are filtering on screen have Jacoby Brissett as my number 3 quarterback of the week. It's not by accident. He has just been far too consistent and far too valuable. Now that you have an opportunity of taking on a top 10 quarterback matchup, top 2 wide receiver matchup, and Marvin Harrison returns, providing him more weapons. I mean, shoot, he didn't need, more than Trey McBride and Michael Wilson last week. That's all he needed. And he was able to get himself, another game of 20 plus fantasy points. So now that you have an opportunity with an even greater matchup, not having to take on a Houston defense, Brissett should full and away be the start. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Chronified sends in a question. Chronified, hope you're doing well, my man. Says, hey, Andrew. Made it to the second round. It says, in my main league, prize is 1,500. I need this one. Yeah, brother, trust me. We all need to win this week. Trust me. It says, in a 0.3 per rushing attempt. Okay. Full PPR format, Dart or Dak. Yeah, in the case in which I'm getting 0.3 per rushing attempt, I will play Jackson Dart there because I would like to assume that he could theoretically get anywhere between 6 to maybe 10 rushing attempts over the course of this game. So if he can get me an extra anywhere between 2 to 3, 4 fantasy points just off of purely running the ball. Let me see here. Jackson Dart. Let's see what his rushing attempts have looked like in the most recent games. Yeah, 6, 8, 9. That most recent game against New England, not really indicative as to what he could theoretically rack up today. I think in that case, I'd be willing to go Jackson Dart. As for your 2 running backs, you have Henry, Judkins, Etienne, Estime. I have to play Henry and I have to play Etienne. Wide receivers, Lamb, Olave, Waddle, Franklin. Gotta play Lamb and Olave. Looking for a tight end, obviously you're going to play Bowers. If you need 2 flex options, I do believe that your 2 best options would probably be in the direction of going Judkins and then pairing them up with Estime. Thank you very much, Chronified. Appreciate it, brother. Alexander sends in a question. Says, pick 2, BTJ, Judkins, Myers, Marvin Harrison. All right, let me see where I have Judkins in a PPR comparatively to someone like Marvin Harrison. I don't really find that I'm going to trust Judkins over a lot of options over the course of today. I think there are spots where I'll feel comfortable starting him, but I do think based on the fact that, again, going into today's game against the Cleveland Browns, I believe that the Buffalo Bills are 10 to 12 point favorites. Let me see here. See where they're currently at. Yeah, they're 10.5 point favorites on the road. And the game has a 40.5 point total. So as it currently stands, unless Judkins scores a touchdown, I think we're absolutely fried. Because I do anticipate for Josh Allen to take a pretty substantial lead there. And then at that point, it effectively makes it to where the Cleveland Browns can't run the ball as much in the second half of that game if they're trying to claw back from a huge deficit. But let me see where I have Marvin Harrison to the field. So Marvin Harrison's ahead of him and Myers is ahead of him. So those are, excuse me, those are my top two suggestions. I would play Jacoby Myers and I would play Marvin Harrison in a full PPR over BTJ and Judkins. Thank you, Alexander. All right. I appreciate all of you who have sent in super chats as of right now. I'm going to close. Okay, there we go. Slowly but surely catch up. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate your guys' patience. All right. Puka torched me, says JT. Says to start the semifinals, start one between Michael Wilson, Michael Carter, or Gainwell. Yeah, I have to play Michael Wilson. Again, my expectation is that Marvin Harrison will be taking the backseat role as the wide receiver too, and Michael Wilson will continue to maintain his primary elite number one wide receiver position of having himself 60 targets in the last 4 games in the absence of Marvin Harrison. Obviously, he's not going to probably get himself the average of a 15-target game today, but I think 10 to 11 targets is certainly within the realm of possibility. And with that volume against Atlanta, far too valuable to pass up on. It says also, I should do more Hidden Gems videos next year. Hidden Gems are a very, very, very difficult video. Not because of the potential of like, oh, naming players, but it's just purely being accurate. This season has been really tough. Like, even in the cases in which I'm like, okay, well, all signs point to these players getting a greater workload share and then effectively being a more valuable contributor. Even with all of the research like backing and supporting the potential of that, these guys disappear or they're never found. They stay hidden. So that's the only issue with Hidden Gems. But again, like in the case of this week, didn't want to do Hidden Gems because quite frankly, we don't need to get cute with it. Not in week 16. We got to play our studs. Thank you, JT. I appreciate it. All right, Marco Jacinto sends in a question. Marco, thank you. Says, in a full PPR, Genty or Michael Carter? Genuinely, I have Michael Carter ranked higher. Look, unless Genty finds himself in the end zone or maybe gets himself 8 receptions over the course of today's game, I don't see a way in which Genty could be more valuable if the Houston Texans take a very substantial lead and just impose their will on Geno Smith. So I think it's going to be a really tough spot for Genty unless, again, a huge play was to occur. He's got the talent. Don't get me wrong. He's got the talent to accomplish it, but I just don't see it in the case in which he does not fall into the end zone or come away with a incredibly high volume of receptions. So I'll go Michael Carter there. It says, or flex Carter and sit Tetairoa McMillan. I'm starting Mike Evans and Michael Wilson. No, I think you should probably play Michael Carter and Tetairoa McMillan in a full PPR. I think that is the more appropriate play. Keep Michael Wilson and Mike Evans as your wide receiver 1 and 2. Keep T-Mac in the flex. Just play Michael Carter at RB. Thank you, Marco. All right, let's see here. Brooke sends in a question. Brooke, thank you very much. Says, Marks or Estime? If Marks is available to play, I would like to go in the direction of him. Says, I have nobody else who can play and Estime plays before Marks. So if there's no possibility in which you could pivot to Jahar Jordan, the running back that, again, filled in for Woody Marks last week in his absence after he left the game due to injury, if Jahar Jordan is not available in your league, and we are theoretically having to wait to see if Marks is going to be actually active, I don't think I take the risk. I think I would just play Estime. Like, yes, the latest news via Rotoballer is that of 3 hours ago, Woody Marks plans to play. Houston, Texas running back Woody Marks plans to play in Week 16, contest versus the Raiders, according to Aaron Wilson of KPRC2. So, again, there are reports in which he plans to play, but it doesn't mean that he actually ends up suiting up, which, again, prior to the game, if he's trying to get, working, and then all of a sudden we're in a little bit of a situation there in which he's not available or active, I don't want to leave you, hanging dry. So I would probably just play Estime and play it safe if Jordan is not an available pickup in your case. Thank you. Moving on to Markel Adams. Markel, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Says, should I risk picking up Shuck to start over Dak in a full PPR super flex? I need upside, and the Chargers defense makes me nervous. I agree with you that the Chargers defense is also going to, as of right now, it has made me nervous over the course of this week, which is why I have Dak Prescott where I currently have him kind of structured, where I have the Chargers defense currently, placed. I don't love the matchup as a whole, but am I going to play Tyler Shuck over Dak Prescott? I don't know if I'd risk that entirely. I feel like, yes, Tyler Shuck is going to get you a solid 18 points, but I think the overall ceiling of production is a little bit less likely than theoretically Dak Prescott. So I think if I'm trying to kind of chase that potential ceiling, I'm willing to even fall to a lesser floor. If Dak Prescott only comes away with 16 points, so be it. At least I know he has the potential of getting to that 4+ point range if everything breaks in the right direction today. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Rika Suave sends a question. Says in a full PPR flex, Aaron Jones, Wanda Robinson, or Ashton Genty. Let me see. I believe Wanda Robinson or Aaron Jones are probably going to be my suggestion. In the case of where I currently have them ranked in comparison to one another, Wandell Robinson is my highest ranked. So I would go Wandell 1, I would go Aaron Jones 2, and Genty 3. So Wandell Robinson would be my primary suggestion in this circumstance. Again, we've talked about it over the course of this season. The volume of targets that Wandell Robinson gets exposed to is a little bit too valuable. And recently, coming off of games of 5, 6, 7, 9 receptions, it's with Jackson Dart under center. Whenever you're getting that kind of a volume of reception count, it's a little bit too valuable in a full PPR for us to pass up on. So I'll lean in that direction, the potential of him getting us a solid, probably 13 fantasy points over the course of today. And then it says start Lamar Jackson or Bo Nix. Again, I don't mind the idea of playing Bo Nix there. I think the rushing upside that Lamar Jackson, again, can theoretically provide is what I'm chasing in this circumstance. And I do believe that when you're taking on the New England Patriots, there is a possibility of a negative script that could theoretically provide even more justification going in the direction of Lamar. So I would position myself to play Lamar there. If you want to play Bo Nix, I don't have an issue with it. They're both top 10. It says I'm starting Sutton and Harvey. Yeah, if you're already starting Sutton and Harvey, you could diversify just to potentially kind of like, in case the Denver game goes to absolute shite, you at least have the availability of like, oh, okay, well, even though those, all those players sunk and, completely just sold the week, I could still recover with having Lamar at quarterback in case. Otherwise, maybe you're just like, hey, Andrew, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch the Denver Broncos play today. Then you just fire up all three of those studs. But for right now, again, Lamar is my higher ranked. Thank you. Bryant Keebler, 6268, says I lost Rashee Rice and Adams. Pick 2 between Genty, Coker, Aaron Jones, Josh Downs. Half PPR. Thank you, sir, and happy holidays. Happy holidays to you as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Brian. All right, so in the case of this question, and also Justice Fair says, same, bro. Brian, in this situation, if we have Genty, Coker, Aaron Jones, and Josh Downs, I don't really have any interest in playing Josh Downs. Yes, he scored the odd touchdown last week, and that's perfectly fine. Can't really trust to start him. It's between these three options, and, I mean, do I want to play Genty? No. But could I justify not playing him over Coker? Let's see. Where do I have Coker comparatively ranked? It's a half PPR question. Yeah. In the case of a half PPR, it's a little bit tricky. I would go Genty and I would go Aaron Jones. I'd stick with my running backs in this case and just hope for the best in that situation. Thank you, Brian. All right. Brett M sends it a question. Says Dart or Lamar? I'll go Lamar. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Again, I think both can have very similar weeks. My only issue is Dart, specifically rookie quarterbacks who have taken on Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, has been a little bit of an issue, which does provide a little bit of kind of like hesitation from my end as to what I could theoretically project out of Jackson Dart. So between the two of them, that is what kind of immediately causes concern. So I'll go Lamar. Thank you. Isaac Smith, 3901, says in a full PPR, Kittle/Sutton, McBride as my tight end, Tracy, Marvin Harrison in the flex. Okay, so this is an interesting question because, okay, so you have, I don't know if these are two separate questions. I'm going to assume they are, Isaac. So if you have Trey McBride already playing a tight end, you're asking, would you play Kittle or Sutton in the flex position, I'm assuming. If in fact that is the question, let me see where I have Kittle comparatively. So as it stands, in the event in which that is your question, Kittle or Sutton in the flex full PPR, I have George Kittle 2 spots ahead of Cortland Sutton projected today. So I'll take George Kittle in that circumstance. Now, as for this other question, Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Tracy in the flex, I would play Tracy in the flex in this circumstance. Thank you. All right, D-Blow. 01 says in a half PPR, I need you to pick 2. It says Marks, Carter, Hampton, and Ramondre. Okay, so let me see when the afternoon what the afternoon slate has in store for us in terms of games, so I know if we have a pivoting option from Woody Marks' case. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier, and I'll go ahead and continue to reiterate, for those of you guys who have Woody Marks, do not forget that he plays in the afternoon slate games, 1 p.m. PST. So in the case of being able to pivot, you could theoretically pivot to Ramondre on Sunday night, but I would not want that. Again, as it right now in a half PPR like displayed on screen, I have it ranked as Marks 1, Carter 2, Hampton 3, and Ramondre 4. And considering, again, the Chargers play in the early morning slate, and so do the Arizona Cardinals. Or Arizona plays in the afternoon. Ooh, okay. Okay, I'm willing to go in that direction. Okay, so let's do this. So, considering Hampton plays in the morning, I would play Hampton, and then I would wait until the afternoon to see if I should play Marks or Carter. I'm looking to try to play Marks. In the event in which he's active, I would play him. And then I would, in the event in which he is inactive and does not play against the Raiders, I would just pivot to playing Carter in this case. So Hampton and Marks. In the event in which Marks doesn't play Carter alongside of Hampton. Thank you. Howard sends in a question. Howard, thank you very much. Does safer play Herbert, Shuck, or Cousins, and why? Safer play is Shuck, I think. Again, as of right now, Herbert, the reason why I currently have him structured where he is purely based on matchup. I don't think he has done enough in terms of fantasy production to have me convinced that he should be a top 12 play. But considering this season, for fantasy purposes, over the course of some 14 games that the Dallas Cowboys have played, I believe in 12 of those games, they've allowed a QB1 to play against them. So a top 12 quarterback option in 12 of the 14 games they have played as a defense. So there's so much value to be theoretically had with Herbert. He has a lot of upside there. But I think the safest play is technically Shuck taking on the Jets defense. I think he will get you a solid 18 points potentially here this week. If anything, let's say he doesn't live up to the 18, at least he can get me like 16 to 18 points, hopefully. And if the rushing upside exists to where he can find himself the end zone with his legs, I think he could have himself that 20-point kind of week. So I think Shuck is like the technical safe play there of the bunch. He has Love. Yeah, I mean, in that case, yeah, you're basically just trying to just get a safe floor of production, which, again, I think Shuck provides that. Otherwise, Herbert is my highest ranked, and if I was to tell you to play one of them, I would tell you to play Herbert there. But yeah, if you're just looking for, like, floor, Shuck is kind of a pretty good option considering, again, they play the Jets. Thank you. Theory sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says, London or Addison in a PPR? I got to play London there. Again, we've waited this long for him to return. And the fact that they're playing the Arizona Cardinals, Kirk Cousins and him have an incredible rapport over the course of the 2024 season. I'm very confident in the idea of playing London there. I think, again, Jordan Addison in a full PPR stance, like the last couple weeks, he's had 3 or 4 receptions, 60 some odd yards. He could easily be a 10-point player and could even have even more potential for upside considering the advantageous nature of the matchup. But ultimately, I do prefer the floor and additionally on top of it, the ceiling that London provides comparatively. As for your next question, Waller, Andrews, or Gadsden, of those available 3 options, I would suggest playing Darren Waller here. Again, Andrews doesn't see enough target opportunity. Gadsden, again, is a decent option, but I do anticipate to see Quentin Johnston available today until in the event in which Quentin Johnston is not out there and is inactive, then I could potentially pivot in the direction of, instead of playing Waller, playing Gadsden, theoretically, because you would see a dispersal of targets available out there. But until then, I would like to play Waller against the number 1 matchup at the tight end position. Thank you. After Theory's question, we had Leo. Thank you very much, Leo. I appreciate it. It says, in a full PPR flex, Marvin Harrison or Michael Carter? It's a great question. Let me see where I have Carter comparatively. Carter's at 42. I have Marvin Harrison 47. So I would play Michael Carter in this circumstance. Snap count for Marvin Harrison, maybe? Yeah, that's kind of where, even if he's not on a snap count, I would assume that he is still going to get himself a pretty solid target rate, which is targets per route run. So anytime he's on the field, he'll probably still be targeted 1 out of every 4 of the routes that he's running, considering, again, how much I anticipate to see the Arizona Cardinals throw the ball. But I do believe that Michael Carter is the more, I think he's the safer play, but he also has just as much theoretical upside within the upcoming matchup. Jesus sends in a question. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Says, meet Meat? I think you meant Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you and your family as well. Thank you very much. Jesus says flex full PPR. Trust T. Higgins or Kincaid? Gotta trust T. Higgins. Again, T. Higgins has been far too valuable when healthy. Again, over the course of this season, I understand that of late, the concussion protocol has really been something that is a little bit of a tricky situation. It does provide a lot of like, what if he hits the ground hard, and he ends up getting concussed again? At that point, he's out for the season, and then we're questioning whether he'll even ever play again. But in the case of this situation, he has already cleared the concussion protocol. He's on track to play today. As of 6 minutes ago, again, they said that he's available to play against the Dolphins. And over the course of this season, just looking at his recent performances in a full PPR scoring format, we're talking about a guaranteed double-digit fantasy point contributor. So if that's a guarantee, with the potential of Burrow lighting it up, considering they're playing against Miami, and they're coming off of one of their worst weeks as an offense in a while, I would say clear and away, T. Higgins has to be started there, Jesus. Thank you. BRMCG005 sends it a question. Says Michael Wilson or Mike Evans? That's a tough one. I think Mike Evans is the direction in which I would go in. I think they're both must-starts this week, but obviously you're in a position to where you have the luxury of two incredible players. I would go Mike Evans here. Again, I think the expectation against that Carolina secondary should be Baker Mayfield finding a lot of success, and considering how many targets Mike Evans got on his first game back, he had the third most targets amongst all wide receivers in week 15. I think the overall opportunity share that he will theoretically be exposed to is just a little too valuable against that secondary for me to pass up on it. That being said, the only reason I don't have Michael Wilson any higher is because I'm still like slightly hesitant, because earlier this season when Marvin Harrison returned against Tampa, we did get burnt. So I don't want to put us all in a very vulnerable position to where we just don't play our automatic studs. And in this case, I think Mike Evans is one of those guys that I just have to roll with here. Otherwise, again, based on rankings that are represented on screen, Michael Wilson's been a top 12 guy all week long since Wednesday's wide receiver rankings video. Thank you. All right, continuing on, we had a question from Chad R54. Says, thanks for all the help this year, Andrew. Pick 2 in a full PPR. We have Woody Marks, assuming he plays, Tyrone Tracy, Tony Pollard, and Emeka Ibuka. Okay, in a full PPR scoring format, even in the event in which Woody Marks plays, I believe I would prefer, yes, I do prefer going Tyrone Tracy and Tony Pollard instead of him. The logic behind this is in the event in which, again, Woody Marks still ends up playing, there is a possibility against the Las Vegas Raiders in which they don't need Woody Marks to find themselves victorious. And in the event in which they take a substantial lead and the Raiders are incapable of scoring, which is expected to be the case, that could mean less Woody Marks in the second half if they're just trying to conserve him for the NFL playoffs. To which I do believe that Tyrone Tracy in a full PPR, Tony Pollard in a full PPR should both be more effectively valuable. I have them closely ranked, but I do have Tracy and Tony Pollard as my number 15, 16 in a full PPR comparatively to Woody Marks as my number 18. So both of these running backs will be my suggestion. Thank you. Jared sends in a question, says, sell me on RJ Harvey over Bucky Irving and Rico Dowdle. I don't like running backs versus Jacksonville. I don't even blame you on that. Again, the only reason in which I go in the direction of RJ Harvey is not primarily because of like what Harvey can do in terms of his effectiveness as a runner. It's more of a matter of like the risk of Bucky and Rico getting touchdowns vultured effectively by Sean Tucker and Chuba Hubbard. There are more immediate threats within those offenses that effectively diminish the value of Bucky and Rico's potential for upside. That is what scares me. So the fact that Sean Tucker has scored a rushing touchdown in back-to-back games on the goal line, very much so concerning. Additionally, on top of it, there's still Rachaad White in that backfield. A lot of cooks in that kitchen, and of course, a lot of receivers as well. So when there's so many contributing options there, that provides potential volatility. In the case of Rico Dowdle, yes, this most recent week, Chuba Hubbard didn't do much. But, you go to the week or the game prior to that against the LA Rams, it was the Chuba Hubbard show. So there could be a possibility in which, again, the backup running back vultures some touches, gets some utilization, and effectively is a more valuable play there. In comparison to RJ Harvey, who, again, when we're talking about Jaleel McLaughlin, yes, earlier this season, about 4 games ago, he did vulture a touchdown on the goal line. But since then, after they came back post-bye week, The goal line has been completely dominated by RJ Harvey, which is why he has scored a touchdown in each of the last 3 games, and why I'm a little bit more confident going in his direction comparatively to the alternatives there. Jared, thank you. All right, let's see here. Chris B, the RD, sends in a question. Says, hi, Andrew. In a full PPR, I need 2 flex. We have Gadsden, we have DK, we have John. I'm assuming this is supposed to be Mechie, but it auto-corrected. Theo Johnson. Okay, so of these available, I do believe that Chimere DK is a more valuable play than John Mechie, primarily because Chimere DK taking on Kansas City today, there's no Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie is the primary nickel cornerback of that defense. So I do think that that does elevate the value of Chimere DK. And then when we look towards Gadsden versus Theo Johnson, again, Theo Johnson very much so desperate for a touchdown upside play. Otherwise, I do think that Gadsden is the appropriate kind of look there. So I would go Gadsden and DK out of your 4 available options. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate it. Prowl sends in a question. Prowl, thank you. Okay, back-to-back questions, in fact. Says, 1 running back, 1 flex. We have Waller, Gainwell, Pollard, Genty, and Pittman. I would play Gainwell and Pollard. Those are your 2 highest potentially ceiling players, and I think also on top of it, their floor is incredibly safe, especially if you're playing in a full PPR. Moving on to your next question, says Woody Marks or Waller. When does Waller play? That is my question. Let me see in terms of what... Okay, so that's the issue. As of right now, the Bengals play in 2 hours. So at 10 a.m. PST, the Bengals will be playing against the Miami Dolphins. To which then, if you're talking about Woody Marks, my only question becomes, do you have the pivot? In the event in which Woody Marks does not end up playing in the afternoon window against the Raiders, can we pivot to a Jahar Jordan, or do we have somebody else on one of those games in the afternoon? Theoretically, is like a Michael Carter out there available? Could we pivot to the potential of somebody else? I don't know. Again, there's not too many like running backs in that kind of sequence. Maybe a Tyler Algier theoretically could be a pivot, but at that point, it's a little bit sketchy. But that's pretty much kind of the determining factor. If you have a pivot, you can go ahead and go in the direction of Marks. Otherwise, we have to play Waller. And why Jags over 49ers defense? I think what the 49ers defense represented last week has me quite concerned. Again, the 49ers defense had been quite consistent, but their inability to stop the run against the Tennessee Titans was quite... it was jarring to me as someone who played the 49ers and lost the matchup last week in the fantasy playoffs because the 49ers defense got me a fat goose egg. The fact that they couldn't stop the run leads me to believe that, again, if Jonathan Taylor can run the ball 25 times against Seattle and be quite effective in doing so, running the ball on the 49ers should be an absolute cakewalk, especially what Tony Pollard was able to accomplish last week. So I think the game in itself is going to be a little bit more of a potential competitive matchup, to which I don't think that the 49ers defense can just be blindly started, even against Phillip Rivers' noodle arm. Moving on to Shoobs, who sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Says PPR pick 3 between Collins, Evans, Wilson, London. Yeah, in this case, I'm just going to play my healthy players. It's not to say that London is not fully healthy. It's just that in comparison to Collins, Evans, and Wilson, I don't have any question regarding the status of those 3 players, while I still have questions as to how much utilization we may in fact see from Drake London today. So in the case of this situation, yes, I do have Michael Wilson, Mike Evans, and Nico Collins all ranked ahead of London. They're all like very closely ahead of him. They're all in the top 12 rankings in my full PPR, but yes, I would play them all over London. And then, so basically in this case, I'm sitting both Atlanta receivers. That way, like, it is pretty tough if, geez Louise. Well, actually, no, you're not even, you're playing Kyle Pitts. Got it. So you were basically just mentioning you have Kyle Pitts at tight end. And does that make any potential change? No, I don't think that effectively changes anything. I just want to play my higher upside wide receivers and stronger floor production. I think these 3 provide that. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Sid sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says T. Higgins, Tedero McMillan, Ashton Genty. Pick 1.5 PPR. God bless. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's between Tedero and T. Higgins. I don't think I can trust Genty in this circumstance compared to those 2. I believe I have Higgins ranked higher. Let me confirm that. I do. In a half PPR scoring format, I have T. Higgins 2 spots ahead of Tedero McMillan. They are in the same tier wide receiver, but I still do prefer to play T. Higgins in this circumstance. That's what I would suggest you go with today. Thank you, Sid. iHack77 says better place for today. As of right now, let me see if there's anything. yesterday I did have a play and I shared it on the live stream. I was about, I think, 4 yards away from Jaden Reed having that play hit, but unfortunately, of course, the concussion to Jordan Love kind of threw that into flux. If I'm looking at potential plays that I could theoretically put together today, my immediate thought, let's see here. Let's see, because I really haven't even had time to venture in that direction. My immediate thought is I want to go and see what Michael Wilson sits at. Like Michael Wilson sitting at 56.5 receiving yards seems like an absolute smash play. I'm all in on that potential. So I would take like Michael Wilson more than 56.5 receiving yards. In terms of the potential of like passing yards from, or what is the passing attempt number of 30? I mean, shoot, I think the passing attempt number of Jacoby Brissett more than 37.5. I mean, he's accomplished that in 5 straight games. That's an easy, absolute play there. I think going in the direction of like fantasy points for Bijan Robinson, he's currently sitting at 21.5. That's an interesting number. I would probably maybe just like chase his rushing yard total, like take him more than 79.5 rushing yards. I think that's a pretty solid play for just that singular game alone, because I do think that's going to be a shootout of a contest. But obviously a lot of air raid on one side and a lot of running on the other. Now, getting back to your specific question for this week, it says full PPR pick 2 between Tetaroa, Sutton, Jawan, and Jennings. Okay, so Jawan Jennings, got it. So in the case of these availables, I would go with Cortland Sutton and Jawan Jennings. I do believe those are your two. I think, yeah, those are the 2 plays that I would roll with. Again, Jawan Jennings has been a touchdown fiend. The lack of overall opportunity for Tetaroa has certainly been something that has kept us a little bit concerned. But I do think that he's going to have himself a solid week here. But still, in comparison to Cortland Sutton and Jawan Jennings' overall exposure to opportunity and the quality opportunities they're seeing specifically for touchdowns, Jennings and Sutton are the appropriate plays, Hack. Thank you. In terms of other potential better play, yeah, so first and foremost, I want to go after Atlanta. Like Bijan Robinson, I expect him to absolutely go nuclear today. I think going after Michael Wilson, Jacoby Brissett on plays, certainly a solid potential. Outside of those kind of situations, I would try to chase like James Cook touchdown. I don't know what the overall situation is. Yeah, like James Cook touchdown, I'm all in on that. What else is another theoretical play I could chase? Yeah, I'll take a look at it as we continue on, but as of right now, those are kind of some of the plays that I like as of right now. Thank you. All right, Josh Holt sends in a question. Says, happy holidays. Questions in the chat. Happy holidays to you as well, Josh. Thank you. Says, Jawan Jennings. I have Jameson Williams. I would much rather play Jameson Williams. Again, 3 consecutive games of 7+ receptions. He has been the number 3 overall wide receiver since the bye week for fantasy football. So, got to play him. Chasing upside, as my opponent had Puka and A.J. Brown. Loveland was my tight end star. Yeah, that was rough, to say the least. You know, it's funny. The 2 tight ends that we have kind of taken the risk on this week, Colston Loveland and Colby Parkinson, both left us absolutely just crying. But yes, I would play Jameson Williams. He has the highest upside. Also, Dowdle or Woody Marks. I would play Dowdle regardless of whether or not Woody Marks is available. Thank you. All right. TKFF sends it a question. Says, in a full PPR pick 3 between Harvey, Tetaroa, Brees, and Abuka. I think Harvey and Tetaroa have to play. As for Brees and Abuka, let me see where I have them ranked comparatively. Brees Hall and Emeka Abuka. Where is Abuka? Yeah, I have Brees Hall 2 spots ahead of him. It's close. I think there could be a justification. Again, I have them in the same tier, so the separation of value is less than a fantasy point. But as of right now, my top 3 players would be the first 3 that you mentioned. It would be Harvey, Tetaroa, and Brees Hall in that order. Emeka would be the odd man out. Thank you. Robert Jameson, 1959, says, brother, I need this. Trust me, we all do. Says, Higgins or Wan'Dale Robinson? Got to play Higgins there. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is a solid kind of like, 12-point player potentially within the given week here, especially considering the volume of receptions he sees. But the upside of a touchdown, the potential upside of just having a absolutely nuclear game will always revolve around T. Higgins in this case, especially when you have Jamar Chase pulling coverage on the opposite side of the field. Higgins has to be your start. Says, but I have Turpin and get 1 point per yard for special teams. Brother, that is a interesting circumstance. Let me look at Cavante Turpin stats. I'm curious what kind of yardage counts he is seeing. Like in the case of like Chimere DK, I am very much so well versed in terms of the yards that he racks over the course of a given week. But in terms of the return yardage of a Cavante Turpin, let me see what you have here. So Cavante Turpin, in terms of kick return yardage, he has gotten 124, 176, 118, 85, 111, 151 in the last 6 games. So on average, this man is absolutely going nuclear within those games. He's averaging 127 kick return yards per game. So if you're going to, if let's say you're getting 0.1 per, so you're getting, wow, geez Louise. Look, the thing is, I love the potential that could theoretically provide, because he'll catch the ball 1 or 2 times every game. So let's say he sticks with his average. Let's say he gets 130 return yards today. So it's 13 points. Let's say he catches the ball 2 times. Scratch it. Let's say he catches the ball 1 time for 20 yards today. So he gets an extra 3 points there. He's a 16-point floor, like genuine floor of 16. That is a crazy number to potentially pivot off of. So even though I theoretically believe that Higgins is the play I want to go for, in the case of that kind of format, it's a little bit too difficult to ignore the production that you could theoretically just cash in on. So for now, I mean, at this point, I mean, he also does punt returns very seldom, but he still is in the mix for punt returns. Yeah, I mean, if I was you, I'm trying to get a sense of like the points he's put up recently. So he had, what is that? Like that's 18, then he had 11, then he had 12, 13, and then he had another 15-point game, and then another 15. That's another 19-point. Honestly, you probably have a better sense of the production he's put forth. It's probably Turpin, just off of that alone. Thank you, Robert. All right, Jinx sends out a question. Says, Zay Flowers or Marion Hampton in the flex full PPR? I have Flowers ranked higher. Thank you, Jinx. Malik Allen sends out a question. Says, this is super tough with 2 Fs. Start 2 out of 3. Wilson, Evans, London. I will take Wilson and Evans. Those are my starters. Thank you. P. Mula 10 says, standard running back and tight end. Beautiful. Let's see what you have here, brother. Says Etienne, Chase, Henderson. Okay, interesting. And then Knox and Jawan. So if I can only start 1 running back out of these 3 available, I'm going to play Travis Etienne in a standard scoring format. I do believe that he has the highest potential for upside, especially with Bayshall tooting out this week. So Etienne would be my suggestion there at RB. And then when I look towards the tight end position, I have to play Jawan Johnson. Devon Vele is out. Outside of Chris Olave, there's really no competition for targets. So Jawan Johnson, Etienne will be my top 2 options there. Thank you. Michael Jeffrey, 8026, sends it a question. Says, in a full PPR, Tetaroa, Omarion Hampton, or AJ as in Aaron Jones. I'll take Tetaroa McMillan there. That's my highest ranked player. Says, played against Puka Nacua, but I had JSN. So kind of chasing upside, but I'm projected to lose by about 30. Thanks, sir. Yeah, look, as of right now, I think Tetaroa McMillan is how we try to accomplish that potential comeback. Thank you. Mr. Ira, 9, says JMO against Abuka, Marvin Harrison, Jr., pick 2. As of right now, Jamison Williams has to play. That's the clear and away. It's between Abuka and Marvin Harrison. As to which direction we go, I believe I have Abuka ranked lower. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, as it stands, I have Marvin Harrison in a full PPR ranked higher. So I'd go Marvin and JMO in this circumstance. Thank you. Freddie, what's up, brother? Says, why Mitchell over Waddle? Yeah, I just don't trust Quinn Ewers. I would legitimately rather trust the potential. Okay, so Quinn Ewers, and then you take on Cincinnati's defense. So whenever you have the combination of not only the change at quarterback, which takes a little while in terms of potentially building rapport. I understand a full week of practice is certainly something that we can bank on, that being, pretty valuable in the grand scheme. But then when you have to take on DJ Turner as the primary coverage, and the Bengals allow the fewest fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers this season since week 5, I feel like AD Mitchell against, in a matchup specifically against the Saints where you're 100% going to be in a negative script for majority of that game, I think there's just too much value for AD Mitchell comparatively to Waddle, who again is up against it this week. Danny D sends in a question, says, full PPR, please rate my lineup. Any changes need to be made. We have Brissett, St. Brown, Evans, Jonathan Taylor, Dowdle, Fannin, Tracy, Fairbairn in the Rams defense. Bench consisting of Purdy, Myers, Marks, Chubb, and Rice. No, I wouldn't make any changes. I believe that the roster you currently have set is perfectly set to go. And I will see you next week as you are on your way to the Fantasy Football Championships, because that is an absolutely buster squad right there. Thank you, Danny. Jared sends in a question, says, please read my question from the chat. God bless. Thank you very much, Jared. Okay, so full context to your question, because there's a lot of messages here. So I'm assuming you're not referring to this one. Listen, the reality of the situation is, Okay, brother. What's the question? It says, how are season Listen, you've got the script down. It says, personally, I like, okay. Is there an actual fantasy question? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's an actual question here. However, throughout the season, we've seen Wings continue to stay very close with Pizza. Given the variety of players that Wings have on the roster, they're now in a position to take over this week. Personally, I like Wings. All right, atta baby. Yeah, so as of right now, let's see if you had. Since I picked up Chris Godwin to start over Debo, so you're good to go there. But yeah, looking at your question as a whole, assuming you're referring to your first question, I went on like a 20-minute rant regarding RJ Harvey over Bucky, Irving, and Rico because of the backup running backs for both Carolina and Tampa Bay. So play RJ Harvey. Thank you, Jared. And that was I like the script. That was pretty funny to say the very least. Thanks, man. All right, let's see here. We had a question from Ocho Ball, who says, Woody Marks or Jacoby Myers? In the event in which, again, yeah, considering they both play in the afternoon window, I would try to play Woody Marks there. If he's available, he's in my lineup. Otherwise, again, the pivot is decided for you. Thank you. All Rise 99 says, pick 2 needs some huge upside between Michael Wilson, Michael Carter, Rico Dowdle, and Stephon Diggs. Also, Trevor Lawrence or Minshew. I'd rather play Trevor Lawrence. And in terms of my potential flex plays, Michael Wilson and Rico Dowdle are my top 2 options there. Thank you very much. All Rise. Appreciate it. Cave Clan sends in a question. Cave, appreciate it. Says, I survived last week, bro. Lineup good, question mark. Says in a half PPR, we have Lamar, we have Bijan, Rico, Nico, GP, we have Michael Wilson, Juwan Johnson, Kittle, or Juwan Jennings, excuse me. Bench consisting of Tedderell, McMillan, Omarion Hampton, Pitts, Michael Pittman, and Xavier Worthy. Yeah, I think your lineup is good to go, brother. Bijan, Rico, Nico, GP, Wilson, Juwan Jennings, Kittle. Yeah, that is the appropriate lineup. That's what I would go with in your case in a half PPR. So should be in a really solid spot this week. Lamar is your X factor. We both know that. Just got a fingers crossed he can pull it through once again today. All right, let's see here. Parkera sends in a question. Says in a half PPR with good lead, pick 5 between Judkins, Jefferson, London, Tedderola, Kittle, Tracy, Brees, and Higgins and Fannin. Okay, so you've got a lot of options there. I believe that your best plays probably revolve around Kittle, Higgins, Tracy, Brees, and London. Kittle, Higgins, London, Tracy, Brees. That's the 5 that I roll with. Then in a half PPR, pick 1 between Carter or Godwin. You're the man. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm playing Michael Carter there. Appreciate it. Rock Out says Michael Carter, AD Mitchell in a PPR. Let me see where I have AD Mitchell comparatively. As of right now, I have Michael Carter ranked higher. I'll take the floor of Michael Carter. Thank you. Scant sends in a question. Says, I'm up 46-4 due to Puka Nacua on Thursday. Jacobs busted for my opponent yesterday. I needed some flex play between Marvin Harrison, Jennings, and Alec Pierce. I would play Juwan Jennings for sure. He's a touchdown fiend. 5 of the last 6 games. Absolutely go in the direction of Jennings there. Thank you. All right. Question was sent in from work. Then I want to go ahead. Okay, here we go. Work for what you want. Sends in a question. Thank you very much. Is in a half PPR, Quinshon Judkins, Marvin Harrison, Michael Carter. I would play Michael Carter out of those availables. Thank you. Caleb sends in a question. Caleb, thank you very much. Says in a full PPR, pick 2 between Chase Brown, Michael Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Drake London. Thanks for all the help this year, bro. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you as well and your family. Appreciate it, Caleb. In regards to this question, I think Chase Brown and Michael Wilson have to start. Let me see where I have Chase Brown comparatively to the field. In a full PPR, yes, I'm playing Chase Brown, and I'm pairing him up with most likely, do I want to play Cortland Sutton? Let's see where I have Michael Wilson comparatively. Oh, okay. So Cortland Sutton, Michael Wilson, Drake London. Again, they're back to back to back. 3 consecutive in a row. Let me see where I have the hair split in the direction of. As of right now, yeah, it's a tough one. I would say it is definitely a tough one. I don't mind going in any direction there. I currently have Cortland Sutton as the highest ranked. So the order at which I have it for those wide receivers would be Cortland 1, Michael Wilson 2, and Drake London 3. So in this circumstance, it would be Chase Brown and Cortland Sutton as my top 2 options there. If you wanted to play Wilson or London over Cortland, I don't have an issue with it. I literally have them all within 1 fantasy point projected. Thank you. Bogus Edits sends in a question, says, advice, please. Full PPR, help choose 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex between Jefferson, Godwin, Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts, and Kittle. The last 3 names you mentioned, Evans, Kittle, and Pitts. Those are the 3 that I played this week. Let me make sure I have Kittle. Let me make sure I have, Kittle and Pitts ahead of Jefferson. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, I do. I would go with Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts, and George Kittle. Thank you, Bogus. Warren sends in a question. Says, in a non-PPR, I need 3 between Wilson, Metcalf, Jennings, London, and Kelsey. I believe I have Jennings ahead of Kels. Let me just confirm. In a non-PPR, let's see where I have Kels compared to Jennings. Yeah, as of right now, in a non-PPR scoring format, my 3 highest ranked would be Wilson, Jennings, and London. Thank you. Win Gardner sends in a question. Thank you very much, Win. Says full PPR, Bowers or Pitts. In a full PPR, I have Kyle Pitts ranked higher. Thank you. Let's see here. Solomon sends in a question. Solomon, thank you. Says in a full PPR league, Woody Marks, Audric Estime, Harold Fannin. Both RBs, says start both RBs and throw Fannin in the flex. How confident are we with Woody actually plays today? I would say that I'm about 70% confident that he rolls today. But this being said, the issue is start both RBs or throw Fannin in the flex. Okay, so here's the issue, right? Fannin plays in the early window. In a full PPR, I'm going to play Fannin. Well, actually, both of these guys play in the early window. Shit. Okay, so here's the issue. Unless you have a pivoting option to Woody, I don't want to leave you high and dry. So unless Jahar Jordan or some other pivoting option is available for you to have on roster, you may just have to play Fannin and Estime just to be safe. I think Fannin is a better play than Estime, but then just becomes a matter of, can I trust to play Woody Marks over Estime effectively today based on what could potentially come, to fruition in the event in which he does not end up playing. I want to play Woody and Fannin, but if you don't have a pivoting option, you should probably play Estime and Fannin. Thank you. Mark sends in a question. It says, good morning. In a full PPR, 2 running backs, 2 flex, 1 tight end. Team is in the comments. Thank you. Says, man, I should have started Caleb over Dart. Yeah, but look, here's the thing. Caleb was able to get himself all those fantasy points with legitimately seconds left on the clock. So, obviously everything broke in the right direction for the Bears, and, history will sit as that, but still, man, I think you're going to be fine with Dart. Have Chase and A.J. Brown at wide receivers, Henderson, Dowdle, Algier, Chubb, and Bowers, Waller, Gadsden, Flowers, and Jameson Williams, Quentin Johnston. Okay. So in the case of your question, if we're looking to just kind of start 2 running backs and 2 flex and a tight end, obviously your running back should be Travion Henderson and Rico Dowdle. If I'm looking to start 2 flex options, Jameson Williams is number 1. And I would pair him up with probably Flowers And then I'm playing Bowers at tight end. Thank you very much. Also, Dart or pick up Shuck. I would stick with Dart there. Thank you. Alrighty, appreciate that, Mark. We had Gabriella sending a question. Thank you very much. Says PPR. I need 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Okay. We have Dowdle, ETN, London, Wilson, Harvey, Wanda Robinson, Tracy. Okay, so in the case of this circumstance, ETN and Harvey are my RBs. Those are my top 2 running backs. Then I'm going to end up playing Michael Wilson and Drake London as my wide receiver and flex. So ETN, Harvey, London, and Wilson. Thank you very much, Gabriella. Vincent Rufo sends in a question. Thank you very much, Vincent. I appreciate that, my man. Says, yo, Andrew, bench estimate to start Jordan if Marks is out. In the event in which Marks is out, yes, I would make that swap. But the issue is, do you have Woody Marks on rosters? I could then play Hollins at night if Marks is in. What do you think in a full PPR? Let me go look at what Mac Hollins typically does. I think Mac Hollins in a full PPR is like 6 fantasy points typically, right? So in the most recent games, he's had, well, okay, those games were without Kayshon Boutte active. So the most recent games here, 5, 5, and 8. So yeah, about 6 fantasy points in a full PPR. At that point, I would just rather play Estime. If it's between him and in trying to just chase the potential of Marks missing, I would rather just play Estime in this circumstance. It says, oh, and it's awesome you pronounce my last name correctly. Let's hope that I consistently do that, because there's a chance that I may not have, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's hear. Michael Jordan sends it a question. It says, final round, pick 2, Montgomery, Pickens, and Wilson. Got to play Pickens and Wilson. That's, I think, in a full, whether it's full, half, standard, doesn't matter. I got to play Wilson, and I've got to play Pickens. Thank you. Bobby Singh sends it a question. Bobby, thank you. Says, half PPR, Franklin, Addison, Slayton, and why? Thanks. Yeah, as of right now, I've kind of adjusted it accordingly. Let me see where I have Slayton, I think. I'm assuming he's going to be at the top of this combo of the availables. So I have Slayton, yes, ahead of the rest. The reason why I have Slayton where I do is purely opportunity share. I think the target volume that he would theoretically be exposed to comparatively to the alternatives is quite substantial and significant, to where in a negative script against Minnesota, he should see himself a pretty solid contingency of targets. The order at which I currently have it is Slayton 1, Franklin 2, and Addison 3. They're all solid plays, but again, I think when I'm, like I've explained to you guys before, when I talk about the potential projections I have, a lot of it is based on opportunity. The more potential targets you are going to be in line for within your offense, the more potential you have to score more points. Now, again, it's not a guarantee that those targets end up aligning. But again, if I was to just break it down to the simplest form, based on the volume of projected passing attempts I have for Jackson Dart, and effectively the trickle down for the receivers and how many targets I have based on what is going to go in the direction of Wanda Robinson, Slayton, Theo Johnson, Slayton's overall target opportunity share, with his catch rate, everything included, matchup, etc., has him as the highest projected. Thank you. Luis Garcia sends in a question. Says, PPR, I need 1 wide receiver spot and 2 flex spots. My picks are McMillan, Sutton, JJ. Yeah, I would play McMillan and Sutton, genuinely. And then we have Dowdle and Harvey. Okay, never mind. Redact that statement. Let me see where I have Dowdle comparatively to Tetaroa, and then let me just recalibrate here. Okay, so as of right now, I would in fact go McMillan, Sutton, and Harvey. Those are my 3 highest ranked of the available members you've mentioned. I have McMillan 1 spot ahead of Rico Dowdle in a full PPR though. So I do think that they're very similarly ranked. It is very difficult to split both Carolina, but I don't know if I want to play both Carolina, considering I prefer to play both Denver players. So Sutton and Harvey are my 1, 2, McMillan's 3, Dowdle 4, JJ 5. Thank you. Tommy D sends in a question. Tommy, thank you very much. Says, Merry Christmas, Andrew. Thank you very much. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you as well. Says, in a non-PPR, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex format, Hampton, Genty, Woody, Abuka, JJ. Hampton, Genty, Woody, Abuka, and JJ. Currently on JJ for turnaround, and also worried about Woody's health. Tracy and Carter are on the waivers. Wow, okay. So you've got a lot of really good alternative options here. Genuinely, I have Tracy and Carter ranked higher than, is a non-PPR. It's going to be a little bit of a different situation, but I have Tracy I have Tracy ahead of Woody Marks. So in the case of this situation, and I have him ahead of Genty and Hampton. In a non-PPR, it's a little bit different because, again, I think Tracy has a lot of solid potential for receiving utilization. But if I was in your position, do I want to try to take the risk there? Okay, so for sure, without a doubt, I have Justin Jefferson as my wide receiver. That's my highest rank there. And then when I'm talking about potential running back and flex, I want to try to pair up Woody Marks and Tracy. And in the event in which Woody Marks doesn't end up playing, I would pivot to Michael Carter. So if I was in your position, I would be looking to pick up Tracy and Carter. So where I can play Tracy at RB, put Woody in my flex. If Woody doesn't end up playing, pivot to Carter. Play JJ as your wide receiver. Thank you very much, Tommy. Money sends it a question, says, good morning, Andrew. Good morning to you as well. Says, I played Puka Nacua and Caleb Williams, so I need some boom. Okay, so you played against them. Understood. Says, I need 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex. PPR, CD, Olave, Chase Brown, Javonte, Hendo, DK, Worthy, and Slayton. Yeah, in comparison to the field, like Worthy and Slayton would never see your lineup. So it's just really the rest of these options that are available. I think that you should be playing CD Lamb and Olave. You should be playing Javonte Williams and Chase Brown. To which then in the flex position between DK Metcalf and Henderson, I have to play Hendo. There's just too much upside there, and we need a huge boom performance, and I think he could theoretically provide that. So CD, Olave, Chase Brown, Javonte, Hendo are my 5 that I would suggest. Thank you. Okay, quickly, a quick reminder for those of you who are joining us this morning. Good morning. Welcome to Week 16 of the 2025 Fantasy Football Playoffs. Again, like I have mentioned to you all before, the rankings that are right here are updated as of this morning. They do not include anybody who has already played this week. So these rankings are on screen, interpositionally, half PPR, 4-point per passing touchdown for the singular purpose of trying to get you guys these rankings. So if you have any questions as to, hey, Andrew, should I be playing one defense over the other? Hopefully the rankings on screen that are represented can give you a little bit of an idea as to which direction I would suggest without being able to, of course, answer every single question over the course of today's live stream. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Again, very simple. Woody Marks here at 17. I would try to play Tracy ahead of him. If I have to wait, it's not worth it. Again, Woody Marks is the biggest question mark of the evening. Still don't know his status. He plays in the afternoon slate. So if you're planning on playing him, come at 125 PST. Make sure we're going to be in a position to where you have a pivoting option. Thank you. All right, continuing on. We had a question from Craig who says, PPR flex either Jets, Waller, or Marks. In a full PPR, I believe I have Justin Jefferson ranked the highest. Let me confirm that real quick. In a full PPR, I have Justin Jefferson ahead of both. So Justin Jefferson will be my suggestion. It says defense, either Lions or the Bengals. I'm very comfortable going in either direction. As of right now, I have the Bengals ranked higher. My Lions defense is projected at my number 13 defense. So they're just outside of my top 12 after the Tennessee Titans. So I would suggest you play the Bengals there against the Dolphins. Thank you. Possum 2679 says flex Genty or QJ. QJ is who? Quentin Johnston or Quinshon Judkins? I think as long as it's Quinshon Judkins, we could have that potential, but as it stands, in a full PPR, I have Genty ranked higher than Judkins and probably Johnston. The primary reason in which I do is because of the volume of receptions I have Genty projected for today. Again, the reason why Genty even has any sort of value is because Geno Smith has shown a contingency, whether it's this season or last season, to where he likes to throw the ball to his running backs. And considering Genty has had himself 6 receptions, 4 and 2 the most recent 2 weeks, I would like to assume that he'll get to that closer 6 to 8 reception range, which again, for a full PPR, makes him highly valuable, if anything else is to transpire within the rushing category. Jags fan 706 says, who do I sit in a half PPR? Tetaroa, London, Harvey, and Rico. Let me see. I think Tetaroa is going to be my sit there in a half PPR format. Let me just see. Tetaroa. Tetaroa is my lowest ranked player of the bunch. So I would play London, Harvey, and Rico ahead of him. Thank you. 513 Rookie says, wouldn't let me super chat my question. Questions in this in non-super chat. Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Rookie. All right. So here's the issue. I'm looking at So I was able to open up your recent logs. Unfortunately, there was nothing here available. So if you can do me a favor and retype in your question, 513 rookie, if you're here in the live chat right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. And then once you go ahead and type that in, I can go ahead and get to it and answer it. Thank you. I'll swing back around in like probably 5 minutes to give you some time. Big Verge sends in a question, says, full PPR, I need a wide receiver running back in a flex between Rico, Harvey, Hampton, Tetaroa, and London. Of those available options, I would play Harvey, I would play Tetaroa, and London. Thank you. Ish Bala sends in a question, says, happy holidays, Andrew. Happy holidays to you as well. Thank you very much. Says, pick 2.5 PPR. Jay Williams, as in Javonte. And okay, we have Michael Wilson and Cortland Sutton. Thanks for the advice this season. Go Steelers. Okay, brother. Let's see what we have here. So of the available options in a half PPR scoring format, my 2 highest ranked would be Javonte Williams and Cortland Sutton. That would be the top 2 that I roll with. Thank you. Again, if you wanted to play Wilson over Sutton, I don't have an issue with it. I have them quite literally ranked back-to-back as displayed on screen. Thank you. Chris Moraga sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR flex, Pitts, Diggs, or Worthy? I would prefer to play Kyle Pitts in that circumstance against the Arizona Cardinals defense that has been a struggling matchup in terms of them taking on tight ends. Appreciate it. Big Verge says, I need a quarterback, Brock or Herbert. That's an interesting one. As it currently stands, as represented on screen, I have Purdy as my number 7, and I have Herbert as my number 10. I will take Brock Purdy in that circumstance. Thank you. Gabriel Martin sends in a question. Gabriel, thank you. Says, in a full PPR, I need 2 running backs between Hall, Marks, Estime, Carter. So the issue with this circumstance is that you kind of have to split it. So I'd go with Breece Hall as my number 1 running back in search to try to play Marks as my number 2 alongside of him. In the event in which Marks is not available, I pivot to playing Michael Carter. So Hall would be the for sure number 1. Marks otherwise pivot to Carter if Marks is not available. Also, Purdy or Brissett, got to play Brissett this week. Thank you. Jal, 8210, says, in a pick 2 full PPR, Fannin, Mitchell, Coker, Estime. Fannin and AD Mitchell are my 2 highest ranked of the available options there. Thank you. Okay, why do I have 14 notifications? What the heck happened? Alrighty, is there anything of news that we need to know? Keon Coleman, healthy and active. That's not a big deal. That actually helps the likes of Khalil Shakir today. Nothing of any more, nothing else of substantial need. Okay. So yeah, Fannin and AD Mitchell will be my suggestion there, Joel. Thank you. Before I continue on, let me see if there was a question that was sent in from 513 Rookie. Nothing in here as of yet. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, continuing on. Mint Primo sends in a question. Mint, thank you. Says, I need a flex, Hampton or T. Higgins. I would play T. Higgins there. Says, in defense question, Chiefs or Titans defense. I would prefer to play the Chiefs. Thank you. Yeah, T. Higgins and the Chiefs. Appreciate that, my man. Dragon Slayer, what's up, brother? Says, Pickens over London despite matchup. Yeah, I mean, look, here's my kind of thought process. I don't want to get too cute with it. I kind of just want to play my studs. And in the case, yes, London could theoretically be considered a stud, but he's coming off of his first week since injury. I'm a little bit less likely to feel the comfort of playing him comparatively to a Pickens because, again, like coming off a PCL is not really a joke and not one that I really want to kind of play around with too much, especially when I have an elite player like Pickens. So personally, I'm just going to play my stud that got me to the dance, and in this case, it's Pickens. If you want to play London, I don't have an issue with it because I do identify that, yes, it is a good matchup compared to at least what Pickens will be seeing today. Big Verge sends in a follow-up, says, full PPR, running back Gainwell or Judkins. I'd prefer to play Gainwell in a full PPR. Again, over the course of the last couple weeks here, the volume of receptions that Gainwell has been able to gather on top of the rushing utilization he has seen has made him a absolute stud of a running back in a full PPR, having scored 16 fantasy points in 4 of the last 6 games. Thank you. Heath Evans sends in a question, says, Kirk Cousins or Gardner Minshew? Let me check my rankings right now, and I'll let you know. As of right now, I have Kirk Cousins 1 spot ahead of Gardner Minshew. So Kirk Cousins will be my suggestion, and that's primarily because of the expected return of Drake London today. Thank you. Shane sends in a question. Shane, thank you very much. Says, in a PPR, we have Troy Franklin, Michael Pittman, or Audric Estime in the flex. I believe I have Estime ranked the highest, but let me just confirm this. Yes, Audric Estime is my highest ranked of those availables. And the next question says, PPR Sutton, Rico, or Michael Carter. I would play Sutton in a full PPR. Next question, it says half PPR Diggs, Wandell, Jacoby Myers, Estime. I need upside. I would go with Jacoby Myers there. Says 13-1. We ride or die today. Here we go. Thank you very much, Shane. I appreciate it. Best of luck, brother. Tim Schwartz sends in a question. Says Michael Wilson or Woody Marks. I would absolutely, regardless of Woody Marks' status, play Michael Wilson. In a full PPR, Wilson's the start. Mike sends in a question. Mike Polomeni says, in a full PPR, Michael Carter or Gainwell. I would prefer to play Gainwell because, again, the volume of receptions has just been too significant. Waller or Hunter Henry? Hunter Henry has done nothing to make me feel confident playing him. I'll go Waller in the top-tier matchup against the Bengals. So Gainwell and Waller. Thank you. Blazin540 says, questioning Burrow's mental state and desire versus must-win Lamar situation. Do I roll with Lamar or Burrow? Okay, so here's the thing. I can't speak to the mental state of Joe Burrow. I personally cannot speak to it. I understand. I have seen the statements that have been made to the public. I do realize within a potential kind of, if we avoid analytics, if we're just talking about the verbiage that he is utilizing, yes, there is a little bit of concern regarding his status for, like, does he want to be a Bengal? But am I going to take the words that he utilized and have that adjust my projection? I mean, genuinely, no. If you'd like to play Lamar, again, I don't have an issue with it. I have them quite literally back-to-back ranked, number 4 and 5 as of today's rankings. So if you want to play Lamar, there's no issue with it at all. If you are questioning the Burrow desire to find himself victorious this week. And it says also Sutton or T-Mac. I would prefer to play Sutton. Sutton and Lamar are my suggestion, but again, Sutton and Burrow are my suggestion, but again, if you want to go alternatively, I don't have an issue with it. They're all closely ranked. Nathan Salazar says, question is in the chat. Thanks, brother. Thank you very much, Nathan. Says, I played against Puka, but he had Myers as his kicker, and he played Debo last night. I need to play it safe, play London or Rico Dowdle in a full PPR. Let me see where I have London comparatively. Look, there's the thing. Playing them safe, London is not technically the safe play, but the play that I would end up suggesting here. And then it says play Nix or Stroud. I would suggest playing Bo Nix there. So technically, if you want to be safe, you would theoretically play Dowdle and, Stroud. Yeah, Dowdle and Stroud would be your safe play. But I would prefer to go with Bo Nix and Drake London in this case. I think you got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes. And playing it safe may not always pan out. Especially when we're talking about a full PPR, I think London's got to be started in that case in comparison to Dowdle. Thank you, Nathan. BBB sends in a question. Says McMillan, Tracy, Gainwell, or Hampton in the flex full PPR. I believe I have McMillan ranked the highest. Let me confirm that. Yes. Of those available options, McMillan is my highest ranked. So the order in which I have it is McMillan 1, Tracy 2, Gainwell 3, and Hampton 4, full PPR flex. Says I already have Genty and Irving as my RB1 and 2. Happy holidays as well, man. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you as well. Says okay, so looking at the full context of the question, I know your primary question is to figure out the flex. I would probably also tell you to not play Genty there. I know you're not asking, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I love Irving as a play this week. I don't love the idea of playing Genty. I genuinely would rather play Tracy or Gainwell over him. But again, if you're dead set on playing Genty, then so be it. But if it was me, I would try to play any of these two over him as for this week. Thank you. All right, Jag sends in a question. Says in a full PPR with return yards, Rico or Gainwell. Let me see. Does Gainwell get himself that much of a significant gain of receiving yards, for lack of a better term? Let me see here. If we look at his kick return yardage, 69, 26, 18, 24, 61. Is it significant? I don't think it's significant enough to where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all in on that. Is it enough to make a difference? I think it is. Look, if Gainwell can rack up anywhere between 40 to 60 return yards and you get 1 point per every 10, then yes, I would play Gainwell this week instead of Rico Dowdle because I anticipate to see the Detroit Lions score a bunch of points tonight or today, excuse me. And that should rack up a lot of potential kickoffs in the direction of Gainwell, technically. So, yes, I would go Gainwell there under the assumption you're getting 1 point per every 10 return yard. Thank you. Can't guard Ant sends in a question. Says PPR, quarterback streaking. I think you meant streaming. Trevor Lawrence or Stroud? I would go with CJ Stroud there. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Lord Knight 7482 says, why are the Bengals defense so high? I have 49ers defense. Yeah, it's primarily because of the rookie quarterback, Quinn Ewers. Look, if you look at Quinn Ewers' overall kind of success as a college quarterback, I wouldn't say he is the most efficient quarterback. He's kind of a turnover machine himself. So they're going from the quarterback that leads the NFL in interceptions with Tua, and they're going to another quarterback that should probably be turning over the ball a pretty solid amount of times. I do believe that the quarterback play in itself is the primary reason why I'm revolving around the Bengals as of this moment. In comparison to the 49ers, I would rather trust Phillip Rivers to be able to provide a relevant offense comparatively to Quinn Ewers. Thank you. Michael Ortiz sends in a question. Says, full PPR, need a wide receiver, running back, and a flex between Chase Brown, Dowdle, Olave, Henderson, and Evans. Brother, this is a tough one. Let me see where I have. Jeez Louise. This is a really tough one. Okay, so in the case of your question, Chase Brown is my number one RB. And then when I look towards the flex and wide receiver, I'd go Evans and Olave. So Chase, Evans, Olave end up being my start. I will say the order at which I currently have it flex ranked would be Chase 1, Olave 2, Evans 3, Henderson 4, Dowdle 5. Now, Olave, Evans, and Henderson are number 18, 19, and 20 on my flex list. They're all back-to-back-to-back, so genuinely, if you wanted to play Henderson and have a sick feeling to your stomach leaving him on the bench, that's fine. You can play him. But otherwise, I have Chase, Olave, Evans as my 1, 2, 3 in that order. Thank you. Hive sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Purdy, Nix, or Stroud? I have Bo Nix as my... Actually, no, I don't. I believe I have Purdy still ranked higher, right? Yeah, I adjusted Purdy. He's in the same tier as Bo Nix. They're both tier 4 quarterbacks for the remaining group, but I do have him one spot ahead of Bo Nix. Thank you. We Buy Homes sends in a question. Says, 2 questions in the chat. Thanks, brother. Thank you very much. Non-PPR, need 2 wide receivers. You have Higgins, Ibuka, Diggs, and Justin Jefferson. I'd play Jefferson and I'd play Higgins. Thank you. Says, for context, playing up against Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, Michael Wilson. Yeah, you're going to be in a really rough week here, but Higgins and Jefferson should be your starts. Next question says, Gibbs is a lock in my lineup. I had Kyron play on Thursday. Start 1 in the flex. Hampton, Aaron Jones, or Travion Henderson. Got to play Travion Henderson. I played Jacobs last night. Still has HN to play. My opponent still okay, got it. I mean, I got to play Henderson, Higgins, and Jefferson there. Thank you. Robert sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, double wide receiver, double running back, 1 flex, I have wide receivers London, Collins, Evans. Running backs Brown, Bucky, Henderson. Which 5 do I start? In this circumstance, Evans and Collins have to play a wide receiver. I think Henderson and Brown have to play at running back, to which then it becomes a Bucky Irving versus Drake London play, to which I believe I'm going to go Drake London there. Let me just confirm where I have Bucky Irving compared to him. That's not how I spell Bucky. There it is. Ooh, wow. Actually, okay, yeah, I have Drake London 2 spots ahead of Bucky Irving. That's the swap. It's one of the 2, but for right now, Bucky Irving's my odd man out. Thank you. Again, if Sean Tucker wasn't stealing touchdowns, I'd feel more confident. Michael Ortiz, 5864, says, in a half PPR, I need 1 flex between Breece, Addison, and Ibuka. In a half PPR, I would suggest playing Breece Hall there. Thank you. Tyler sends in a question. Says, McCarthy or Herbert? I will take Justin Herbert there. Thank you very much, Tyler. Play-by-play says, you're confident in the Bengals defense this week. Yeah, I'm pretty confident in the idea that Quinn Ewers is, again, a lesser quarterback option that does provide enough value to where I can confidently roll in that direction. Again, the Bengals defense has not been one that we can outright blindly trust on a weekly basis over the course of the entire season, but of late, the last 4 weeks, 10, 15, 6, and 8 fantasy points, I think just the volume of success they have found as a defense is significant enough to where I'm pretty confident in their potential in Miami today. Especially if they take an early lead there and force Quinn to throw the ball, that's interceptions. If there's a better play today for Quinn Ewers interceptions, I genuinely would. Let me see here. Is there a play? There is not a better play. If you guys can find a play online for interceptions for Quinn Ewers, I don't mind going more than 0.5 on that. I don't know if anybody's going to offer it, but definitely out there. Marvin Lewis sends in a question. Marvin, hope you're doing well, my man. Says, I have Judkins. Should I play Estime or Jay Jordan over him with Genty on the bench? Interesting. I would not play Estime or Jay Jordan over him. I'd be pretty comfortable going with Judkins there. Says, also, is it okay to play London and Pitts? Yeah, absolutely. London and Pitts should both be great, considering the Cardinals' secondary and defense isn't great and has a lot of injuries. Avram sends in a question. Thank you very much, Avram. Says, Javonte Williams, Bucky Irving, or Travis Etienne. Etienne's my number one there. That would be my suggestion. Moving on to pick 2 between Henry, Javonte, and Etienne. My top 2 options would be Henry and Etienne here. Thank you. Boy Blue sends in a question. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, my boy. Full PPR, Hampton or Tetaroa? I would play Tetaroa McMillan this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you. James Freeman says, Harold Fannin, Darren Waller, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, pick 2. Depends on scoring format, genuinely. In the event in which you're playing in a full PPR, let me see where I have Breece Hall comparatively to Michael Carter. Okay. If we're playing in a half PPR, I would suggest we run both running backs, Hall and Michael Carter. If we're playing in a full PPR, I would play Harold Fannin and Michael Carter. Thank you. Charnado sends in a question. Says, who do I start as my desperation flex in a full PPR? Chuba Hubbard, A.D. Mitchell, or Darren Waller? If we're looking for desperation, I don't think Chuba Hubbard is the answer. I think it's either A.D. Mitchell or Waller, as I think that they have a potential higher ceiling. Says, I feel like Waller versus Cincy could be the play. Let me see where I mean, in a full PPR, it's a little bit tricky. Between him and A.D. Mitchell, the way that I currently have it ranked is I have A.D. Mitchell ranked higher. But that's primarily because I do rank tight ends a little bit lower. I'm a little bit less keen on rolling in the direction in comparison to a wide receiver, especially a wide receiver one of an offense. So personally, I would play Mitchell there, but if you want to play Waller, I don't have an issue with it. Thank you. Spencer Goldberg sends in a question. Spencer, thank you very much, sir. Says, full PPR pick 2 between Dowdle, Hampton, London, and Wilson. Of these available, I believe your 2 best plays are both at wide receiver. London and Wilson should probably be your starts. Thank you. Dave sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, pick 2 between Etienne, Hampton, Higgins, and Gainwell. Of these available in a full PPR scoring format, Etienne and Higgins are my top 2 options. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Dejon Davis, who says, full PPR, 1 running back, 1 flex. Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle, Travion Henderson, and Zay Flowers, Michael Wilson. Okay. So in terms of running back, Bucky versus Rico, I have Bucky Irving ranked higher on a full Oh, you have Henderson. Never mind. Travion Henderson is your RB. Then it becomes a matter of playing Michael Wilson in the flex in a full PPR. So Henderson and Wilson are my suggestions. Unfortunately, in your case, Davis, you are in one of those positions where you have so many good players that it is a detriment because every week you have to make very difficult decisions and choices. Thank you. All right, so Quinn Johnston's effectively active. That's great. Good to see. Love that. Okay, beautiful. I wanted to go back and make sure. Did Rookie end up sending in a question? Let me see, Rookie. 513 Rookie says, spend in chat. Enjoy your holidays. Okay, let me see here, brother. Okay, must been cursed. Okay, here we go. I see your question now. You're good to go, brother. Okay, so in a non-PPR flex, Jennings, London, Wilson, Hampton. Is this your question? Okay. You have a couple questions here. So let's start with the first one. Standard league, pick 3 wide receivers in a flex. Between Evans, Metcalf, J-Mo, Jennings, London, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, coming back at Hampton. Okay, cool. So looking at the available options at 3 wide receivers, Jameson Williams is number 1. Evans is number 2. Michael Wilson. Oh, gosh, brother. You have so many good players. Okay. Evans, Jameson, Michael Wilson, London. Those are my top options. In the event in which in a standard scoring format, I think I might play Jennings. No. I'm not going to get cute with it. Evans, Jamison Williams, London, Michael Wilson. Those are my 4 options that I would roll with. Now, looking at your most recent question, Jennings, London, Wilson, Hampton. If I'm flexing one of these available, Michael Wilson would be 1, London would be 2, Jennings would be 3, Hampton would be 4 in a non-PPR. Thank you very much, Rookie. Appreciate it. Glad I was able to swing back around. Okay. So after Rookie's question, let's go ahead and delete that. Let's scroll back down to where we were at just recently. Okay, so after Davis's question, we had Colossal, who says, let me close that. Says in a full PPR, I need a flex. We have Judkins, Marks, and Carter. Okay, so here is my issue with it's not even an issue. I want to try to play Carter in the event in which he is, I want to try to play Woody Marks. In the event in which he is not available, you pivot to playing Carter. Says I might need to be talked off of the Judkins matchup given the risk of Marks' injury and Carter's role. Carter's role is the full-time running back. So I would even play Carter ahead of Judkins. I just don't love the potential of Judkins because of a couple, factors. First and foremost, game script. Second of all, you're playing against the best offense in the league potentially. Could be a blowout, lack of a running game, lack of a script in that regard. Additionally, on top of it, when we're talking about Judkins, he is technically amongst all running backs this season, been stuffed behind the line of scrimmage more than any other running back. His offensive line's banged up. Starting right tackle went to the IR. I just don't love the play. If you're worried about Woody Marks, again, you could play Judkins, but I would prefer to play even Carter ahead of Judkins in a full PPR capacity. Thank you. Half PPR flex, Michael Pittman Jr., Coker, Vidal, Jordan, or Warren. Wow, that is a really interesting, let's see here. Tyler Warren in a half PPR. Let's see where I have him comparatively to the field. Okay, so, you have Michael. Okay, yeah, no. I'm going to play Tyler Warren out of the group. Tyler Warren would be number 1. And then I would go Michael Pittman 2, Coker 3. In the event in which there was no... Okay, let me see. Yeah, okay. So this would be my only suggestion here. So I'm going to go Tyler Warren. In the event in which Woody Marks is inactive, I would play Jordan. Thank you. Moving on to Siobhan Walker, who says, pick 3, Kincaid, Wilson, Tracy, A.D. Mitchell, Allen, Franklin, or Shakir. Okay, so of those available options, Michael Wilson, Tracy, and A.D. Mitchell are my 3 starts. Then when we move on to your next question, says Saints or Bengals defense, I prefer to play the Saints. Thank you. BBB, we already took care of this question earlier. Thank you again. Sal5151 says in a half PPR, Genty, Pollard, Carter, Diggs, Myers, Jordan, start 2. Of your available options, I believe that Pollard and Carter are your top 2 options. Thank you. Moving on to your next question, McCarthy or Dart. I will take Dart there. Says up with Puka at the moment. Needs some floor, I think. Yeah, I think Pollard, Carter, and Dart provide all of that. Thank you. Appreciate it, my man. Alrighty, continuing on. Let me see where the next question rolls in from. We go in the direction of Big Boyle, who says, need Pollard? Okay, flex Pollard, Kelsey, or Pittman. It depends on, let me see in a full PPR if I would even ever consider Kelsey. I would consider it, but I think regardless of scoring format, standard, half, or full PPR, I'm taking Pollard in this case. Thank you. All right. KJ sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, Jennings or Sutton? I will take Cortland Sutton there. Says, up by 9, opponent has Purdy. Yeah, even with a Purdy potential, I think Sutton is the better play between those 2 wide receivers. Thank you. Marion Garcia sends in a question. Says, message is in the chat. Thank you very much, Marion. Says, in a full PPR, start 2, we have Jefferson, Shakir, Worthy, Genty, projected to lose by 30, need some upside. Yeah, if we're looking for upside, I think that could be accomplished with Jefferson and potentially Worthy. I think that's the way in which I try to capture potential for upside. Jefferson, Worthy there. Thank you. All right, Gerard sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. Says, pick 2 in the flex, PPR, A.D. Mitchell, Schultz, and Carter. Let me see where I have Schultz comparatively to the alternative. As of right now, in a full PPR flex situation, yeah, I think the the floor of production in a full PPR that Schultz and Carter provide is enough for where I would go in those two directions. I go Carter 1, Schultz 2. Thank you. Jared sends in a question, says, LOL, my question was legitimately pizza or wings. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. But I mean, ultimately, there was just such a, like, it was a full breakdown of like pizza versus wings over the course of the season. If I had to pick, brother, again, I've mentioned this before because people were asking me a couple weeks ago, Andrew, for Thanksgiving, do you want like turkey or ham? Like, there's no or, it's and. We don't use ors here. It's both. But in the case of pizza or wings, again, I would say and, but ultimately I will take pizza. 10 times out of 10. Lazy Vid sends in a question, says, which two do I start? London, Pickens, RJ Harvey. Let me see where I have Harvey compared to, well, I think it depends, but let me see where I have him in a half PPR compared to a full. Yeah, as of right now, I'd feel really comfortable going Pickens and Harvey in this case. Thank you. Joseph Rogers sends in a question. Joseph, thank you. He says, in a PPR, Franklin, Montgomery, or Ferguson? Ooh, that's an interesting one. Let me see where I have Franklin comparatively. Okay, so Franklin I have... yes, I have him slightly ahead of Jake Ferguson, but I have David Montgomery ahead of the group. So I go Montgomery 1, Franklin 2, Ferguson 3. Yeah. Now, look, I will say Montgomery and his value is going to be 100% contingent of can he fall into the end zone. But I think in terms of the floor of production that he could theoretically provide against that struggling defense for the Steelers is enough. So I'll go Montgomery 1, Franklin 2, Fergie 3. PPR facing Puka and JSN, I need upside. Okay, so if we need upside, scratch what I just told you, play Franklin. Says I need upside, Burrow or Brissett, got to play Brissett there. Evans or Higgins, I'm going to play Evans there. Thank you. David Diaz, and you said you said Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you as well, Joseph. Thank you. David Diaz, 3630, says, in the semifinals on both of my leagues today, just wanted to say you're the GOAT this year. Again, I'm going Wilson today over Marvin Harrison and flexing Juwan. Congratulations. You should be good to go. We'll see you next week for the Fantasy Championships, brother. Thank you. iShine101 says, I need some upside in a full PPR. Woody Marks, Gainwell, Rico, or Estime. So, considering what you have at your disposal and the upcoming slate of games today, I believe, let me just confirm this. So, considering Pittsburgh plays in the afternoon slate, but it's a full PPR, I'm going to play that. And you have Rico. My suggestion would be to play Rico and Gainwell this week. I'm not going to play around with Woody Marks. I'm not even going to consider it. I think in your circumstance, the way in which I would go about it would be Rico 1, Gainwell 2, Marks 3, and Estime 4 in a full PPR. That's the order for those players. So Gainwell and Rico will be that 1-2 combo. It says I have Jordan 2. Not even interested. I just play Gainwell and Rico. Good to go there. Vincent, what's up, brother? Says, yo, Andrew, can you read the previous super? Also, Isaiah Williams over Buka in a half PPR and points for return yards. I got to see what Isaiah Williams does in the return yards games. I know he plays for the Jets, so let's see what he ends up doing usually. All right, so in the case of return yardage for an Isaiah Williams, am I looking at the right Isaiah Williams? Because he doesn't do anything in the, well, that's rushing. Hold on, where's his return? Okay, here we go. In terms of return yardage, on average, let's say on average, kick return yards about 53.5, and then punt return yards, about 40. So he's going to get about 10 points of just pure return yardage alone. And then on top of it, he's been pretty decent as a wide receiver of late. I think even, oh man, that's a tough one. Based on just pure averages of return yardage alone, I mean, this most recent week is what concerns me of the lack of potential returns. I don't know if they completely replaced them on kickoff return. If that is the case, I think it's just safer to play Emeka Egbuka there. Now, going back to your previously asked question, I do remember answering it, but we'll go back to it as well. So you had asked Estime to start over Jordan if Marks is out. Again, I would just play Estime because he plays in the morning slate, and I don't want to have to wait and potentially play Hollins. So I would just roll with Estime outright. Thank you very much. That was my suggestion previously. And then in regards to Isaiah Williams versus Buka, I'm just going to play Buka there and not get cute with it. GCan91 says in a half PPR, Purdy or Brissett. I prefer to play Brissett as of right now. I have Christian McCaffrey, Kelsey, and Pinheiro. I hear you. So you're pretty much all in on the 49ers. I feel like Brissett just has to be started. With Ricky Pearsall out, that's why I've diminished Purdy's overall rank, though. Bjorn83 says, hello, half PPR, Waddle, Wandell. Okay. What else do we have here, brother? Waddle, Wandell, Bowers, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and Chuba. Okay. Need one wide receiver, one running back, and one flex. Of your availables here in a half PPR scoring format. Okay, so of these available wide receivers, it's a very interesting game here because Waddle is a little bit of a tough play out of the crew. I'm probably going to play Wan'Dale Robinson as wide receiver. I'm going to play Kenneth Gainwell at running back. And I'm probably playing Bowers in my flex. Thank you. Golden sends in a question, says full PPR, one flex, Michael Carter, Darren Waller, Audric Estime, and A.D. Mitchell. Out of those available options, I believe I have Michael Carter as my highest ranked. I do, in fact. That's the direction I go in. Michael Carter is my suggestion as your flex. If I play Michael Carter, I will play 3 Cardinals, Brissett, Wilson, and Carter. Is that bad? 3 is my max capacity. I've said over the years, my rule of thumb is 3 is the most that I would ever play on one singular team in one singular game. Unless there's some sort of extraneous situation where maybe you have Gibbs, Laporta, Jameson, and theoretically like Amon-Ra. That would be like a crazy situation, but I would consider that. But in the case of your situation, I have no issue with starting those 3 because they're all studs. Rocky14 says, who should I start in the flex? Full PPR, Drake London or Travion Henderson? In a full PPR circumstance, I currently have Travion Henderson ranked higher than Drake London. Thank you. iShine101 sends in a question, says full PPR. Pick 2, Rico, Abuka, Hunt, Estime, and Pacheco. Rico and Abuka in a full PPR are my suggestions. Thank you. Harry sends in a question, says in a full PPR, Christian McCaffrey is locked in. I need 1 running back, 2 wide receivers in a flex between Henderson, Gainwell, Tyrone Tracy, Pickens, T-Mac, and Jacoby. Cool. Pickens and T-Mac are your wide receivers. Henderson should play alongside of Christian McCaffrey. And in the flex position, in a full PPR, let me see where I have Tracy compared to Gainwell, Tyrone Tracy. I have him 1 spot ahead of Gainwell. They're back-to-back within my rankings. Now, where is Myers comparatively? I have both of them ahead of... Oh, actually, no. So the way in which I currently have it full PPR ranked, I have them all back-to-back-to-back. Tyrone Tracy, 36. Jacoby Myers, 37. Gainwell, 38. So technically speaking, if we're starting McCaffrey, Henderson, Pickens, and Tetaroa McMillan, my flex option in this case would be Tracy as the suggestion. Thank you. All right, African King sends in a question. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It says full PPR, 1 tight end, Warren or Fanning, excuse me. I saw the junior and I thought Fanning. I will take Harold Fannin. Thank you. It says 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. We have Diggs. We have McConkey, Wilson, Sutton. I would play McConkey, Wilson, and Sutton there. And then for quarterback, Cousins, Burrow, or May, I believe I have Drake May ranked the highest of the group. So I'll go Drake May there. Thank you. Auntie Slayer says, good morning. Questions in the chat, Andrew. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Says, I need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex. We have Estime, Jalen Warren, Kareem Hunt, Coker, Addison, Strange, and Johnston. Okay. So, of your available options here, this is an interesting situation because I don't know what your scoring format is, but let me see if you've ever mentioned scoring. You've mentioned it before, but that was last year, full PPR. Let's say you still play in a full PPR. Okay, in the case of a full PPR at running back, I would play Audric Estime and Jalen Warren as my RBs. As for wide receiver, let me see where I have Quentin Johnston. Johnston would play alongside of Coker, and then I would flex Addison and Strange. So pretty much I'm benching Kareem Hunt because I'm starting everyone else. Thank you. All right, continuing on, we had a question from GCan91. It says full PPR Franklin or Higgins. I would play As long as this is T. Higgins, that's my start. If it's Jaden Higgins, I'd rather play Franklin. Thank you. Dan Sex says, questions in the chat. Merry Christmas, bro. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Says, I think I'm doomed. Start Franklin last week over Yoshivas. Thank God. Congratulations. Yeah, that was a rough one for me. This week, I'm down Rice. I have Downs, Coker, Franklin, or waiver wire dart throws. I have Puka, so I need 2. Okay, so if we need 2 of those available, I mean, genuinely, Coker and Franklin are the guys. The order at which I currently have it is Franklin 1, Coker 2. I wouldn't consider playing Downs, genuinely. So Franklin will be 1, Coker's 2. Roll with both. Thank you. Adrian Baca sends out a question. Says, good morning. Flex, non-PPR, Michael Wilson, Michael Carter, Woody Marks, Ashton Genty. I would play Michael Wilson there. Says, second league, need 2 in a full PPR. Shakir, Carter, Coker, Washington, Marks, Chuba. I would try to play Marks and Carter as my 1-2 option there. And then let me see if there's any pivot available in the afternoon window. So in the event in which we don't have the availability of Woody Marks, let me see if I can pivot anywhere in terms of your situation. No, there's no pivot. Okay, so my suggestion is to play Shakir and Woody Marks. In the event in which Marks is inactive, I play Michael Carter alongside of Shakir. Thank you, Adrian. Like, I would prefer to play Marks and Carter as my top 2 options, but again, considering I don't know the status of Marks, I'd probably just pair up Shakir here and then figure out if Marks is playing. I'll roll with him. Otherwise, I'll pivot to Carter. Thank you. All right. Rice sends out a question. Or Aris says, in a half PPR, pick 4 between Brees, Hampton, Tracy, Pickens, Jennings, Evans, Ladd, Godwin. Okay. So of these available in a half PPR, if I'm playing 4 of them, Pickens, Jennings, Evans, and Brees Hall. Yeah, Pickens, Jennings, Evans, Brees Hall. Those are my 4. Thank you. As for pick 1 for tight end, Waller, Gadsden, Tyler Warren. I believe I have Waller as my highest ranked on screen that is rotating, so I would go in that direction. Thank you. Niner86 says, good morning, Andrew. In a half PPR, I need a wide receiver and a flex. Pick 2 between Evans, Michael Wilson, Sutton, T. Higgins, and Metcalf. Thanks for the help, and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you as well, Niner. In regards to these available options, Evans and Sutton are my 2 highest ranked. Thank you. Edward Reynolds, 8311, says, in a full PPR, Judkins, Pitts, or Michael Carter. In a full PPR, I would probably go Pitts 1, Carter 2, Judkins 3. Let me confirm that I have Pitts ahead of Carter. Yes, I would go Pitts 1, Carter 2, Judkins 3. Thank you, Edward. Appreciate it. JV sends in a question. Says, question is in the chat. Thank you, JV. Says, are we still leaning Tetaroa over Judkins and Waddle for a full PPR? Correct. I would still go Tetaroa there. Says, also in another league, Woody, Hampton, BTJ, or Gainwell. Of those available, it's a little bit of a tricky situation. If it's a full PPR question as well. Oh, no, this is a half PPR. Got it. Okay. So I would try to play Woody Marks. In the event in which he is not available to play, I pivot to playing Gainwell in the afternoon. Thank you. All right. Fasty Dave sends in a question. Says, in a 12-team standard, pick 2 between Jacoby Myers, Wanda Robinson, Tyron Tracy, and Godwin. Tracy and Jacoby Myers are my top 2 options. Clear as day. Thank you. Orlando sends in a question. Says, full PPR, I've got RJ Harvey at running back, Tetaroa at wide receiver, and London in the flex. With Hampton on my bench, would you play Hampton and for who? No, I wouldn't play Hampton over any of them. I believe that the 3 options you have in your current roster is the correct choice to make this week. Thank you, Orlando. I appreciate it. Third Day sends in a question. Says, Ryan here. Ryan, what's up, brother? Full PPR, double flex league. Baker, CD, Michael Wilson, JT, HM, Waller, Fannin, Marvin. Bench consisting of Woody, Quentin Johnston, Franklin. Any changes to make? The only change I would ever consider is in the event in which Woody Marks is available and active, I would play him over Marvin Harrison. In the event in which he's inactive, then you keep it as is and you keep it rolling. That's the only change that I would ever consider making as for this week. Thank you. Tilted Hippo sends in a question. Says, questions in the chat. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holiday to you as well, brother. So half PPR roster, rough at wide receiver for sure. Burrow, Christian McCaffrey, HM, Marvin Harrison, McBride, Derrick Henry, Aubrey, Bills defense. Then my wide receiver 2 would be Troy Franklin, Darius Slayton, Quentin Johnson, Shamir DK, or Hollins. Thanks. Of those available options, I don't mind the idea of rolling Quentin Johnson considering DeRon Bland is going to be out. So I'm kind of leaning in that direction in terms of a half PPR. I currently have Quentin Johnston, Darius Slayton, and Troy Franklin back to back to back. But number 1 would be Slayton. Number 2 is Quentin Johnson. Number 3 is Franklin. So in terms of those availables, technically I go Slayton in if I was going to make a suggestion. Quentin Johnston 2, Franklin 3. And then it says, my question was missed for sure. Super chat missed. RIP. Yeah, I didn't miss your question. I just, again, I'm pretty far behind, so I'm trying to catch up still. Thank you for the patience. All right, continuing on. Nathan Dennison sends in a question. Says, you still think Michael Wilson is relevant with Marvin Harrison expected to play? Yes, absolutely. Marvin Harrison should be at a more wide receiver 2 role comparatively to Michael Wilson continuing to maintain his wide receiver 1 standing. So I have Estimate or Sutton over. I have Estimate or Sutton to play over him. As in play over Michael Wilson? Yes, I would play Sutton over him. That's fine by me. Aura sends in a question. Says, Brissett, Gibbs, Olave, and Puka, Tracy, Waller, Waddle, Evans, Fairbairn, Saints. Benches Schultz, Warren, Theo. Any switch? Okay, so your tight end is Waller. I'm not going to play Theo. You have at running back Gibbs, and you have Tyron Tracy. I'm not going to play Jalen Warren there. Schultz. I would play Schultz over Waller in a full PPR. That's the only swap in which I theoretically would consider making. Thank you. Fruit Punch sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says Aaron Jones or Coker. I would prefer to play Aaron Jones there. Warren / Diggs / Brees, pick 2. Between those available, I would play. It depends on scoring format. If we're in a full PPR, I'll take Brees and Diggs. If we're in a half PPR standard, I'll take both running backs and Brees and Warren. Thank you. Kevin, the credit guy, sends in a question. Kevin, thank you. Full PPR, pick 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. Keenan, Shakir, AD, Mitchell, Hubbard, Carter, Schultz, Waller. Okay, of those available options, I would go with Carter and Schultz in a full PPR. Says I have Josh Allen as my quarterback. Right now, I have Allen and Shakir in. Okay, got it. So wow, you have Keenan, Allen, and Shakir rolling for you, brother? Yeah, I'm on a completely different wavelength than you at this point. I'm thinking Michael Carter and Schultz. That's the way in which I'd go about it, brother. Thank you. Benjamin sends in a question. Says, my guy in a full PPR, Carter or Pollard? I'd prefer to play Pollard. Playing up against Puka. Yeah, Pollard, what he's done in the last 2 weeks has convinced me to where I'm pretty confident in the potential of rolling him this week in order to not only get that upside, but the floor of production, considering the volume of rushing attempts he has seen of late. Sam Highway sends in a question. Says, Baker or Brissett? I'd prefer to play Brissett. Wandale Robinson or McConkey half PPR? I'm going McConkey there. Thank you. Stunna sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, Vidal, AD Mitchell, Hollywood Brown, or David Montgomery, I'd go with AD Mitchell in a full PPR. Thank you. Famous Maker, what's up, brother? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Says, standard pick 1. Michael Carter, Ladd McConkey, BTJ, Genty, Jacoby. In a standard scoring format, I believe it's Michael Carter or Jacoby Myers. Let me see where I have them in a half. I don't play in any standard leagues myself, so I don't even do any projections for them. But I can probably decipher where I'd go with based on where I have them stacked up. Yeah, in this circumstance, I would just take Michael Carter there out of the group in a standard scoring format. Thank you. Alrighty. We had Adrian Acosta who sends in a question. Says, who do I start in the flex? Marks, Tataroa, or Sutton? I would just play Sutton there, regardless of scoring format. Thank you. David sends in a question. Start 2, flex 1, half PPR. Bucky, Henderson, Judkins, Hampton, Evans. In a half PPR, flex pretty much has to be Henderson, to which then at Okay, wait. You're saying start 2, as in start 2 running backs. Got it. Okay. Bucky Henderson at running back. Evans in the flex. Thank you. It's 570 key. Says my opponent has Chase. Do I start Burrow or roll with Brissett / Marv stack? I'd go Brissett and Marv stack. Thank you. Stormtrooper sends in a question. Says I need 2 wide receivers in a flex. We have Sutton, Wilson, London, Pickens. Yeah, so I, as of right now, have it ordered as Pickens, Sutton, Wilson, and then London. So the player who's coming back from injury would be the least considered option, in my opinion. So I prefer to go Pickens, Sutton, and Wilson as my top 3. Stormtrooper, thank you. All right, let's see here. Blue Demon sends in a question. Blue, thank you. Says in a full PPR, tight end Tyler Warren or Waller. As of right now, I'd go Waller there. And then it says running back, pick 2, Henderson, Tracy, Gainwell, Pollard. If I'm picking 2, I would go with Henderson and I would go with Pollard. It says, and based on the left players, including Drake London, which players would you flex? I would play Drake London over Gainwell and Tracy. It says, missed my chat, full PPR. Okay, yeah, so we just answered it. Didn't miss it. Just, again, I'm a little bit behind on catching up to the questions. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Demon. Okay, so now we've caught... Wow, I am so far effing behind. Holy shit. Okay, so we've caught up to this one as well. We've caught because we've answered these before. And then we have Matt who says, full PPR, 2 flex. Dowdle, Brees, Estime, Tracy, Worthy, Diggs, Juwan Jennings. Of your available options, Dowdle and Juwan Jennings are my starts. Thank you. Then we have, okay, let's see here. Slowly but surely catching up. Okay, yeah, we're not too far out. Okay. John Patino sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, I need 2 running backs. Who do I throw in my lineup? Warren, Gainwell, Aaron Jones, Michael Carter. Gainwell and Michael Carter are my 2 highest ranked in a full PPR. Thank you. Big Verge sends in a question. Says, full PPR standard format. Fixed lineup, Says, May, Rico, Bijan, Harvey, Hampton, Evans, Tetaroa, London, Ibuka, Kittle, Bowers, played versus Puka and JSN. Got it. Okay, so in this situation, Drake May is your starting quarterback. Your starting running backs are going to be Bijan and Harvey. Your starting wide receivers are going to be Evans and London. And then at tight end, I'm playing Kittle. In the event in which I can play 1 flex option, I play Tetaroa. In the event in which I can play 2 flex options, I include Rico alongside of Tetaroa. Thank you. Moving on to team. Repo says, need a tight end in a flex in a full PPR super flex format with Gadsden, Waller, Vidal, Mason, Slayton, or Hollywood. My starting lineup is as such with May, Bucky, Etienne, CD, Olave, Godwin, and Josh Allen. Really solid team, brother. You're going to the chip. But if we're looking for a tight end in a flex, I tight end, I'm playing Waller. In the flex, I'm playing Darius Slayton. Do I have Gadsden ahead of Slayton? Let me check that out real quick. I do not. So I would still play Slayton in that case. So Slayton and Waller are my suggestions there, Repo. Thank you. Kobe sends in a question. Says, I need high volume. I have Shakir, Vidal, Worthy, Parker, Washington. I have Dowdle, Judkins, Henderson, Jamar, JT starting. Also Stroud or Lamar. Merry Christmas, man. Thank you very much. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you as well. So in regards to your situation, if we're looking for high volume, I think if we're talking about like a full PPR, Shakir's the answer. If we're talking about like a standard league where we're just like hoping for a touchdown, then at that point I bank with Worthy. Otherwise, if we're talking about full PPR, it's Shakir. And then looking at Stroud or Lamar, I got to play Lamar. Thank you. Evan sends in a question. Says 6 point per touchdown. Lamar, Burrow, Brissett, or Dart. I'm playing Jacoby Brissett there. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Joseph sends in a question. Joseph Birdie says, full PPR, Ibuka or Marks if Ibuka plays first. You would play Ibuka then. If you don't have a pivoting option for Woody Marks that is comparable to the value of a Mecca Ibuka, theoretically speaking, then at that point you don't take the risk and you just stick with Ibuka. But if you do have a pivoting option for Woody Marks, that is a solid option. that you're comfortable with pivoting to, then at that point I would take the risk to go to Woody Marks' direction. Thank you. Mikey 2580 says, in a full PPR, why Dak over Baker? Primarily because of the overall expectation of where the touchdowns will kind of roll out. When we talk about the potential of Tampa Bay's offense, specifically against that Carolina run stop defense, Carolina has been awful in terms of stopping running backs of late. So my primary concern revolving around Baker Mayfield pretty much kind of exists within, when you look at the recent weeks, there's been a lot of contributions from these running backs taking touchdowns down in the red zone. So that's where my concern primarily revolves. Now, again, additionally on top of it, the expectation of Dak Prescott and the Chargers game is expected to be the highest scoring game of the week outside of the Lions versus Pittsburgh. So if it's going to be as high scoring as expected comparatively to Baker versus Carolina, you would assume that Dak Prescott should have a little bit of a safer floor. Follow-up question, it says, Addison, Pollard, or Strange? Got to play Pollard there, for sure, without a doubt. Thank you, Mikey. The Chosen 23 says, PPR, Marvin Harrison being eased back concern you? I saw that report earlier this morning. It was nothing to where like it made me feel less confident where I have him. I have him where exactly as I expected he's going to be the number 2 wide receiver comparatively to Michael Wilson. So the target priority should go McBride 1, Wilson 2, Marvin 3. And really there's nobody else to catch the ball in that offense. So he'll still be of a quite significant value point, because think about it this way. If we're going to throw the ball 40 times today with Jacoby Brissett, I'd like to imagine that if we're going to throw the ball 40 times, and let's say, for example, we attribute 12 targets to Trey McBride, 12 targets to Michael Wilson, that's only 24 of 40 attempts. Imagine the volume that could theoretically still arise for Marvin Harrison. So still a lot of value potentially out there. It says other options are Abuka, BTJ. BTJ likely shadowed by Patrick Surtain, and Abuka is the number 3 option, and McMillan is there too. Yeah, I agree. I think Marvin Harrison should still play there. Thank you. Turdberger sends in a question, or it's not Turdberger, it's Turd Berglinson. I don't know why I thought Burger. I'm pretty sure somebody's name is, maybe that was originally your name and it's changed. Full PPR, Warren, Montgomery, Abuka, and Jefferson. Okay, so between these available in a full PPR scoring format, let's see where I have Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren, I have one spot ahead of Montgomery in a full PPR. Abuka versus Jefferson, I go JJ. So Warren and JJ. Thank you. Tame sends in a question. Tame says, in a non-PPR, Judkins, Carter, or Estime? In a non-PPR, I still go Carter there. Carter 1, Judkins 2, Estime 3. Waller or Gadsden, I would go with Waller in hopes that he scores a tutty. Champagne Fantasy, what's up, brother? Says, why Judkins and Hampton so low? Judkins has a very difficult potential matchup here, not because of fantasy points allowed, but specifically game script and the fact that, again, when you're taking on the Buffalo Bills, if you're going to get blown out and the Buffalo Bills take a substantial lead early, that makes them avoid and completely ditch the running game. Hampton's ranking primarily revolves around his split with Kamani Vidal. Thank you. Continuing on, we had a question here from, let's see here. Tresley says, full PPR, Achane, Dowdle, Hall, Collins, Chase, Olave with Metcalf on the bench. Should I flex him? Okay, so theoretically, if you were going to flex, okay, so let's see. You have Jamar Chase. You have Nico Collins. You have Chris Olave. You have Breece Hall, Rico, Achane. I personally, in a full PPR, would rather play Metcalf than Breece Hall. So in the event in which you can start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex, I would play Metcalf over Breece. Thank you. All right, moving on to Javon Grubb, who says, why did you rank Michael Carter higher than Hampton? Yeah, we talked about it earlier this week. Over the course of the last 2 seasons, when Michael Carter has been given ample opportunity as the starting running back of the Arizona Cardinals, his value has been quite significant. And when I know that he's going to be clearing away the RB1 with Bam Knight going to the injured reserve and Hampton is still going to be splitting touches with the likes of Kamani Vidal, there's just too much value to be had in this circumstance. Just looking at this season alone, okay, so in the recent games in which, again, we were talking about Michael Carter breaking 10-plus touches, I mean, this most recent week, 13.4. Back in week 13, had 10 touches total, had 11.4 fantasy points. Back in week 5, had had himself over 20 touches, scored 18 fantasy points. You go back to 2024 within the same offense. In week 18, 15.9 fantasy points with 21 touches. Back in week 17 of last year, 15 touches, 10 fantasy points. You even go back to 2023 late in the season, had himself a 13.7 fantasy point contribution. When given ample opportunity, he has been a very valuable piece. He can function as a 3-down back, and he's going to see himself a very solid share of opportunity as the clear and away RB1 in an offense that gives their running backs minimum 25 opportunities per week. So there's just too much opportunity insinuated with Carter's potential for this week. Big Verge says Jaguars or Bengals defense. I mean, honestly, it's kind of a toss-up. I think I like them both a lot, but in terms of who I prefer this week, I would probably venture to say that the Bengals have a potentially better opportunity to score a higher number because of turnovers comparatively to what the Jaguars would have to do in order to be relevant against the Broncos, excuse me. All right, Adrian Sanchez sends in a question. Says full PPR starting May, Christian McCaffrey, Jones, Waddle, Nico, Goddard. Flex, Sutton, Diggs, bench consisting of Genty, Estime, Marks, and Pittman. Oh yeah, I think okay, so we have that. Okay, so looking at the available options you have here. Am I going to make any swaps? In this case, no, I don't think I have to. I want to play Woody Marks. So this is my only suggestion that I would make, Adrian. In the event in which Woody Marks ends up playing, I play him over Diggs in the flex. Otherwise, I keep it as is and keep it moving. Thank you. Owned to Dead says, full PPR, I need a running back and a flex, a quarterback and a defense. Chase Brown, Flowers, Dowdle, A.D. Mitchell, Schultz, Goff, Mayfield, Brissett, Bucks, Broncos, 49ers, Vikings. Okay, so of your available options, I have the Broncos as my highest ranked defense. I have Brissett as my highest ranked quarterback. Running back for sure has to be Chase Brown. And at wide receiver, at flex, I would play, I'm pretty sure I'm playing Dowdle. So Chase Brown, Dowdle, Brissett, and the Broncos. Thank you. Cosmos XBL says, pick 2 half PPR, Hampton, Metcalf, Brees. I would take Metcalf and Brees as my top 2 options. Thank you. Eddie sends in a question, says, running back, wide receiver, flex, London, Wilson, Evans, Jones, Carter. I would play Carter at running back, Evans at wide receiver, Michael Wilson in the flex. Thank you. Gets Knowledge says, good morning, full PPR. Can confirm Joe over Baker. Yes, I can confirm Joe Burrow I would play Joe Burrow over Baker. Thank you. Bjorn sends in a follow-up, says half PPR, Jalen Warren, Waddle, Bowers. I need one. I would probably play Bowers there. Let me see where I have Bowers comparatively to the field. Yes, I would play Bowers over the field. Thank you. Smooth Operator sends in a question. Says in a half PPR double flex league, Michael Wilson, London, Henderson, Dowdle. Half PPR double flex, I'm playing Henderson and Michael Wilson. Thank you. Brandon DeCoste sends in a question. Says, your case for Bucky over Tracy Jr. and Purdy over Dart. So Dart's situation is, look, the same thing pretty much kind of revolves around Dart's hesitation than I have with Tracy. When you're taking on Minnesota's defense, if Dart isn't able to keep them competitive early on, that defense, the volume of blitz that they send could be very troublesome for a rookie quarterback. So if they don't have their blitz pickup actually, in a solid position, sure, Dart has mobility, but I don't think he's going to be able to get away with it. So in this case, I'd rather just take the safe play against the secondary that has many of their starters already out in the overall look at the Colts. Even with Pearsall not available, I think Purdy is a solid play, especially considering he's gotten his rushing workload kind of uptick of late. Now, in regards to Bucky versus Tracy, it's just purely a matter of, can I trust the script that revolves around the Giants? That's basically just it. If Singletary comes in and takes any sort of extra workload, could be detrimental. But ultimately, it's just the matter of the game script of what is anticipated between these two teams, which leans me in the direction of Bucky Irving. Don Frost says, greetings and salutations, Dak or Drake? I would rather play Drake May. Moving on, also says, you have bonus points for 40-yard passes or 300 yards. I don't know. At that point, I think I'm still sticking with Drake, but I could see a reality in which Dak Prescott can very easily accomplish that in comparison to Drake, because Dak is a little bit more inclined to throw for a 300-yard game comparatively. So again, if it is if the bonus is significant enough, then sure, we can take Dak. Otherwise, I'm still sticking with Drake May in a 5-point per passing touchdown league. Also, Hampton with Quinnen Williams out. We have, what is this? Houston running back, got all three of them, or Carter, PPR. I would honestly try to play Woody Marks. If he's not available, I pivot to Carter. All right, Kex is good. Sends in a question. Says, playing Gibbs, start Goff or Purdy? As of right now, I believe I have Goff ranked higher. Let me confirm this. Yes, I have Goff one spot ahead of Purdy. I'll take Goff there. It says Brees or Emeka in a half point. I would take Brees there. Thank you. Greek God sends in a question. It says full PPR, Waller, Pollard, Abuka, Waddle, Carter, pick 2. I would play Pollard, and I would pair him up with Michael Carter there. Thank you. Brett Webster says in a full PPR, got a bench one between London, Abuka, Henderson, and Michael Wilson. Abuka is my sit. Everybody else plays. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Brett, thank you. Joseph sends in a question. Says, wait for Mark's news or play Brees Hall, also Montgomery. If I was in your position, I would probably just play Brees Hall. I wouldn't take the risk. Thank you. Omega sends in a question. Says, best upside for a full PPR start 2, London, Evans, or Wilson? Of these available, I have Evans and Wilson as my highest ranked. Thank you. GW Soccer says, flex BTJ, Fannin, Estime, Mitchell, full PPR. BTJ, Fannin, Estime, Mitchell. Okay, so in a full PPR, Fannin's my start. Next question, Tetaroa or Michael Wilson? Michael Wilson in a half PPR. Thank you. Jay Lee says, flex full PPR, Sutton, Rico, or Genty. As of those available, full PPR, I'm playing Cortland Sutton. Thank you. Josh Shepard says, in a full PPR, I have to pick one of 3. Jalen Warren, Estime, Michael Carter. The rankings have Carter way higher than the others. I agree, yes. I thought Estime would be closer. What makes Carter the better play? He's a 3-down back, and I don't have to worry about his overall utilization because I know what kind of opportunity share he's going to get. I cannot say the same about Estime, and Jalen Warren is kind of pushed to the side in a full PPR capacity, considering Gainwell's overall recent utilization. So Carter, again, should probably see upwards of potentially 18 to 20 touches today, which makes him as valuable as he is. Jamie Moreno sends in a question. Says, pick 2 in the flex. King Henry or George Pickens? Or Sutton or okay, so Sutton and Hampton. Okay, so it's King Henry and Pickens or Sutton and Hampton. I would rather have Henry and Pickens. Or Sutton and Pickens. No, I'm still cool with Henry and Pickens there. That's cool with me. Thank you. Auntie Slayer says, full PPR, I need 2 flex. Estime, Hunt, Warren, Coker, Addison, Strange. Sorry, mistyped. Thank you, Andrew. Good luck. Merry Christmas. And yes, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you as well, Auntie Slayer. So looking at I need 2 flex. Between these available options at your disposal, in a full PPR setting, I probably position myself to play. Man, it's a little bit of a tough one. Where do I have Estime comparatively? I probably position myself to play Jalen Warren. Let me see where I have Coker real quick. Yeah, if I was in your position, I would play Jalen Warren and Brenton Strange. Thank you. Stunna sends in a follow-up. Says, Dowdle, Evans, Drake, London. Which 2 do I play? I would play both wide receivers if it's a full PPR. Evans and London. In the event, let's see here. Says full PPR, by the way. Beautiful. Mike Evans and Drake London. Thank you. Death to Ming sends in a question. Death, thank you. Says in a half PPR, Ladd over Waddle with Johnston playing. Yes, even with Johnston playing, I would rather play Ladd over Waddle. Quarterback play is the big difference. Chris Bentley sends in a question. Says start, let's see, Clam, Dicker, or... Interesting. Okay, let's get to your actual question here. flex Wandell or Carter, it depends on scoring format. If we're talking about a full PPR, I would probably say that it's just safe to go with Wandell, as long as it's not Waddle. If it's Wandell Robinson, it's safe. Otherwise, I honestly think that in a half PPR, in your case, Michael Carter is probably the way in which you go about it. It says Dicker Pinheiro. As of right now, okay, yeah, you're good to go there. I'm rolling with Houston and New Orleans. Yeah, you're good to go. Yeah, okay. You're good to go there, brother. Perfect. Thank you. Alrighty. We continue on with Omega91, who says, best 2 starts in a full PPR, Jacoby Myers, AD Mitchell, Godwin, Waddle, Wandell Robinson. Your best 2 starts are Wandell Robinson and Jacoby Myers. Says, thanks for the guidance all season. This season, GOAT, let's get it. Congratulations getting this far. The job's not finished. We got to close it out here. Wandell Robinson, Jacoby Myers, hopefully leading us to the promised land, brother. All right, Bear Camp sends in a question. Bear, thank you. Bear Camp says the following. Says, in a non-PPR, would I be better to play Jennings over Wilson? I have a Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you as well. Would you be better off in a non-PPR playing Jennings over Wilson? No, I don't think technically that is the case. Because if Jennings doesn't come away with the touchdown, we're absolutely fried. So I think Wilson, the yardage count that he would theoretically get, and also additionally, his touchdown potential that he has provided of late, I'm willing to go Wilson there. Itachi sends in a question. Says, start Pitts over over Bowers in a full PPR. Yes, I would play Pitts over Bowers. Says, I have London starting as well. If he's good to go, does that matter? No, I don't think it matters. I think both plays of London and Pitts are the appropriate plays for your situation. Says, pick one for the flex. Quentin Johnson, Mason, Coker, and Ramondre. Or if this is Quinshon Judkins, it would be Judkins. If it's Johnston, then I need to go and check where I have Ramondre in a full PPR. If it is in fact Johnston, then yes, Johnston will be the start. If it's Judkins, it's the start. Whoever QJ is, that's your starter this week. Thank you, Itachi. James Grover sends in a question. Says, with Quinnen Williams out for Dallas, do you go with Hampton over Tracy? No, I'd still play Tracy there. I mean, again, I do think that Quinnen Williams' overall contribution is certainly a significant one. Since they have acquired him, their run-stopping defensive efforts have been incredible, and they've really stopped opposing offenses from finding much success in that category. But still, even in that circumstance, I really love the matchup for running backs versus Minnesota. Zobu sends in a question. Says, Rico or Marks? I prefer to play Rico Dowdle there, Zobu. Thank you. Austin sends in a question. Says, full PPR, sit one between Tetaroa, Judkins, and Hampton. In a full PPR, I would sit Judkins. I would play Tetaroa, and I would play Hampton. Thank you, sir. Crix Cod sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. All right, let's see here. Says, that's a rough lineup. Went through, Woody Marks should just sit this game out, or will he sit down at halftime? That's always possible as well. Are the Raiders really going to score or put up a fight? I don't expect to. I'm reading Mark's plans on suiting up. Yeah, he plans on suiting up. As to how much he is going to play, yeah, it's still very much so up in the air. But I would like to hope that he gets himself like 10 touches, finds the end zone, gets like 60 yards, can be a double-digit contributing factor. And if the Raiders shock the world, then maybe we can keep it competitive and have it even more value. Real or artificial tree? In my entire life, I've never had a real tree. Always done artificial, cleaner, easier setup in terms of putting it together and bringing it, putting it apart and then sending it back into the garage. Thank you. If you have any other questions, let me know, Chris. All right, continuing on. We had a question that came in from Ike, who says, full PPR for the flex, Aaron Jones, Judkins, Woody, or Waddle. In this circumstance, let me see when the Vikings play. They play in the morning as well. So in your situation here, you would theoretically have to wait for Woody's status. I don't think you should wait. I think you should probably just play Aaron Jones or Judkins and be safe in this circumstance, because if you wait for it and he's not available, it's kind of going to burn you in this circumstance. So personally, if we're talking about full PPR, I'll take Aaron Jones there. Thank you. Niner86 says, Andrew didn't mention I'm projected to lose by 30. Okay, let me just see the context of your question. It says, half PPR, I need a wide receiver and a flex. Pick two between Evans, Michael Wilson, Sutton, T. Higgins, and Metcalf. So yeah, if we need two wide receivers and a flex, I'm still going to stick with Evans, Wilson, and Sutton. I don't think that changes my mind Sure, T. Higgins and Metcalf could both come away with touchdowns, but in terms of the overall floor and potential projection in which I currently have it, I think Evans, Wilson, and Sutton are your correct plays for this week. Thanks, man. Jeremy Cody sends in a question. Says, Merry Christmas. Swift hurts me. Yeah, he hurt me as well, brother. Don't even worry. But at least I had Puka in that league. Says, I need upside. Pick one running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and a half PPR. We have Aaron Jones, Tracy. So Tracy's going to be my starting running back. We have London, Wilson, DK with return yard league. Okay, so in this case, I would play London and Wilson at wide receiver, and I would play DK in your flex. So Aaron Jones, the odd man out. Happy holidays to you as well, Jeremy. All right, the Dub Invasion says in a full PPR, start 2 between Etienne, Olave, Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, has to play. So then it's a matter of Olave versus Etienne. And as of right now, between the two, I technically have Etienne ranked higher. So Etienne and Jameson Williams are my suggestion. Thank you. XRP Moon says in a half PPR, we have P3, Achane, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, and Michael Wilson. Okay. So when you put P3, I'm not I don't even know who that is. Is that supposed to be PG as in like, no, that would be GP. No. Hold up. I don't know who P3 is. Am I absolutely fucking fried? Sorry about my language. Let me think about this. Nobody give me any hints. Yeah, it's Pickens, right? It has to be GP. Yeah, because George Pickens number 3. What am I talking about? Okay, yeah. So okay, cool. Never mind. Let's get to the question. It says, sorry, pick 4, not 3. Beautiful. Okay, that makes it easier for me. So in the case of your situation here, in a half PPR scoring format, it's purely a matter of where do I have Bucky Irving compared to the field. So let me see where I have Mr. Lucky Bucky. In comparison to the alternatives here, at which I currently have it structured. Achane, Chase Brown, George Pickens, Mike Evans are all starts. It's between Bucky Irving and Michael Wilson. If you told me it's a full PPR, I would tell you it's Michael Wilson. As of right now in a half PPR, I have Bucky Irving ranked higher. Thank you. Alrighty, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Jeff Whitfield. Jeff, thank you very much, sir. Jeff says, in Marvin Harrison, Hill, or Slayton, I would still roll with Marvin Harrison. Thank you. Joe sends in a question. Says, I need highest upside, half PPR. Pick 1 running back and 1 flex between Jalen Warren, Michael Carter, Juwan Johnson, Tyler Warren, BTJ. Thanks, Andrew. Okay. Of these available options, I believe if we're looking for highest upside, I would try to cash in on the potential of a Michael Carter, Juwan Johnson combo and hope that Johnson finds the end zone. Thank you. Josh Shepard, 21, says Jawar Jordan or Malik Davis. I would go with Jordan there. Only in the event in which Woody Marks is out. Otherwise, I don't think... technically, I have right now, under the assumption that Woody Marks plays, I have Malik Davis ranked higher. Trevor Melville sends in a question. Says, thanks for all the help this year in a full PPR. Brees or Fannin. Really stuck between these two. I'm playing Goff, Cook, Rico, Chase, Sutton, Pitts, and Ladd. Okay, let me see where I have them compared to one another in a full PPR. As it stands in a full PPR scoring format, I have Harold Fannin 3 spots ahead of Brees Hall. 43 compared to number 46 in my flex ranking. So, again, it's primarily because of the volume of targets I have Fannin projected for. So, because of the 10 targets I have projected for him, that in itself increases his overall floor comparatively, especially with Isaiah Davis' workload last week. Kind of scares me a little bit, but enough to where I'm okay going Fannin, but I have them both within my tier 6 of my flex ranking. So if you wanted to play Brees, I have no issue with it. Either which way I think you go about it, you're probably making the chip. Looking at the roster as across the board, I'll probably see you next week here, Trevor. Thank you. Reactions sends in a question. Full PPR, can't decide between Ferguson and Waller. I'd have to go Waller there. Again, Ferguson's a little bit sketchier because of matchup and additionally the lack of opportunity that he has seen in terms of targets. Obviously, he's seen himself red zone utilization, but unless he comes down with a touchdown, a little bit of a tough situation while Waller has the best matchup at the position by far. Julian sends in a question, says, RJ Harvey or Juwan Jennings in the flex? I'll take RJ Harvey in that circumstance. Thank you. Alex Apking. Alex, long time no see, brother. Wow. That name is incredibly familiar. Been around the channel for quite a while. Thank you, Alex. It says Lamb, Evans, Sutton, Ladd, Judkins, Carter, Estime. Full PPR. I need an RB2 and a wide receiver and a flex out of this group. I'm going for the back-to-back. Much love. Thank you very much, Alex. Okay, so of these available options, in regards to an RB2 wide receiver and flex, in a full PPR, Lamb has to play. I think in your flex position, I'm going Evans. And at RB2, I'm playing Carter. So Carter, Lamb, and Evans would be the three which I roll with. Thank you, sir. Joe sends in a follow-up, says Aaron Rodgers or Bryce Young, highest upside needed. I'm going Bryce Young there, genuinely. I do think that there is a conversation to be had regarding Aaron Rodgers and the success he has found. I've looked at the overall production and what we've seen recently of Bryce Young. He does have incredible volatility, but he did fare relatively well against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season. He has a relatively kind of safer floor, in my opinion, because of rushing potential. I'm going Bryce Young there. Nader53 says, hey, man, in a half PPR, I have Tetero, McMillan, and Worthy starting. Swift and Henderson. Choice of Wan'Dale Robinson or Estime in the flex. Okay, let me see where I have them ranked comparatively. Estime compared to Wan'Dale Robinson. As of right now, between those two options, I do have Estime ranked higher in a half PPR. If it was a full PPR, no questions asked, I'd be within looking to start Wan'Dale Robinson. But in a half PPR, I think it is justifiable to go Estime there. Also, Pitts or Jawan Johnson, I'll go with Pitts there. Thank you, sir. Joe Gatlin sends in a question. Joe, thank you. Says standard league, I got Get Real, Carter. I have Wilson, Estime, or Pitts. Thank you thank you for your diligence. And I love your work. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So basically, yeah, Carter versus Wilson in the standard scoring format. Standard scoring, in terms of touchdowns and yardage, my projections have Wilson at a higher potential yardage count. And then, in my opinion, also additionally, a higher chance for touchdowns. So Wilson will be my suggestion there. Thank you. Brian Canales sends in a question. Brian says, RJ Harvey or Jawan Jennings, full PPR flex position. As of right now, in a full PPR scoring format, RJ Harvey is the higher ranked player between the two. Is he significantly higher? No, but he is still the higher of the two between those. Thank you. Let's see here. I don't even know how I would pronounce this name. Let's just call you Schween. Let's call you Sweeney. How about that? Sweeney's good. Full PPR flex. Tracy Abuka, Michael Carter, thank you. In a full PPR, I'm playing Tyrone Tracy there, brother. Thank you very much. What a name, brother. What a name. Pick two in a full PPR. Carter, Dowdle, Tracy, Marks, Jennings. Of these available options, in a full PPR, I would play Jawan Jennings alongside of, I believe, let me see where I have Tracy compared to. Yeah, I would go with Rico Dowdle and Jawan Jennings here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Alrighty, slowly but surely catching up. We had a question that came in from Saldivar. V. Saldivar, 48, excuse me. Says Saints week 16 or Chiefs with as many injuries. Yeah, I would say the Saints is my preferred of the two. I think there's a little bit more potential of taking advantage of Brady Cook rather than Cam Ward. Thank you. Derek Kohler sends in a question. Says BTJ, AD Mitchell, Coker, Godwin, Estime, pick two. Depends on scoring format. If we're talking about a half PPR, I will take Estime and AD Mitchell. In the event in which we're talking a full PPR, I would go Godwin and AD Mitchell. Thank you, sir. Brian sends in a question. Brian T. Reed says, who should I start at wide receiver and flex between Higgins, Sutton, Jefferson, and Myers? I would play Higgins and Sutton there. Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it. Envy. That's not really envy, though. That's not how you spell envy. So I'm reading it wrong. Any Ved. Maybe that's what it is. Either way, I'm botching the names. Continuing on. It says, thanks in advance. In a half PPR, 3 sets. Okay. First, set Montgomery or Addison. In a half PPR, I would rather play Montgomery. Second set, Waddle, Abuka, Carter, or Pitts. Out of those availables in a half PPR, that's an interesting one. Where do I have Pitts? I think I have Pitts ahead of Carter. I would play Pitts there. Okay. Then third set, it says Evans, Higgins, Waddle, or Metcalf. I'll take Evans there. So Montgomery, Pitts, Evans. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Own to Dead says, refer to last question. Forgot I have Travis Etienne too. Okay, no problem. So referring back to the last question, says I need a running back, a flex, a quarterback, and a defense. Cool. So remembering your question, I do remember saying that we're going to play Chase Brown, Jacoby Brissett, the Broncos defense, and then we also mentioned playing the potential. Okay, yeah. If you have Travis Etienne, he ends up being your flex this week. Thank you. Appreciate it. Rogo, what's up, brother? Says, sup, bro? Swift only gave me 8 points at RB2. Now I'm stressing out. My opponent has JT and RJ and Vidal. Flex, make changes, dropping and picking up last night's team in the chat. Let's see what you have here, brother. Says, I had Reed and Watson, but didn't start. I dropped them to get Carter and Slayton. I'm afraid of a 50-50 split with Vidal. Okay. Says, how do I attack this? My starting roster is Brock, Michael Wilson, McConkey, Gibbs, Swift, Kittle, Carter, Myers, Hampton, Slayton, Marks. Yeah, I think you're perfectly fine. The roster's correct. I like Michael Carter in the flex. I like the way that everything else is set up. You're good to go there, brother. Best of luck this week. Thank you, Rogo. As always. Moses sends in a question. Moses Andrade says, Strange, Coker, Chris Godwin, start 2. I would play Strange and I would play Godwin. Thank you very much. Because of the tight end premium, of course. All right, moving on to BB, who says, Wandale Robinson or Tracy in the flex full PPR. That's an interesting one. Let me see where I have Wandale comparatively. In a full PPR, Wandale Robinson comparatively to Tracy. I still have Tracy ahead of him. Thank you. But it's close. Brandon sends in a question. Says, Ladder or Abuka? I have Ladder McConkey ranked. Oh, it's standard scoring format? Shoot. At that point, I'm just going to play Abuka. Thank you. Octavio sends in a question. Says, start 3 between Brees, Hampton, Tetaroa, Tracy. Brees, Tetaroa, and Tracy are my top 3. Thank you. Dre sends in a question. Says, Aaron Jones, Judkins, or hold out for Woody Marks. I would probably just play Aaron Jones, just to be safe. Thank you. Greek God says, Waller or Schultz. If it's a full PPR, I'm taking Schultz. Waller or Abuka, I would take Abuka. Thank you. The Chaos Era sends in a question. Chaos, thank you. Says, bear the F down. Okay, thank you very much, Chaos. If you had a question, do me a favor and type it in the live chat so that I can get to it. Otherwise, if that's all that was meant to be said, bear the F down. Let's go. Even though I'm not a Bears fan, I'm all for it because, honestly, I can't wait for the Rams to absolutely mollywop them in the playoffs. All right, continuing on. Shane Gress sends in a question. Says, standard, pick 2. Olave, London, Hampton. Yeah, as of right now, I'll take Olave and I will take London in a standard scoring format. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Continuing on, we had a question from Sean Trevino. Sean, long time no see. Hope you're doing well, my man. Says, both PPR, Gainwell or Waddle. I will take Gainwell. Pick 2 between Pollard, Marks, and Carter. Again, I would try to play Pollard and Marks. If Marks is not available, I just pivot to Carter. It's easy that way. Thank you. But Pollard for sure starts. Dior Kev, what's up, Dior? Long time no see, brother. Hope you're doing well. Says, Andrew, you're the GOAT. Thank you for Thank you for the great help over the years. You're the best at what you do. Thank you very much. Good luck to all. Stay hydrated and Merry Christmas. That's very nice of you, Dior Kev. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate the kind words. You have a great holiday season as well. Thank you. Get Right 19 says, Waller, Jawan Johnson, or Schultz. Of those available options, I would go Schultz as my number 1. Again, I would probably roll in the... Yeah, Schultz is my number 1. In a full PPR, half PPR, doesn't matter. I'm rolling that direction. Denver, New Orleans, or Kansas City. New Orleans is my number 1 defense of the group. Thank you. Ibrahim Yusuf says in a question, says, half PPR, Estime, Wandale Robinson, pick 1, and I need a solid flex. I would go with Estime in a half PPR. Thank you, sir. Dub sends in a question. Dubs says, full PPR, got to play 2 between Genty, Judkins, and Estime. Yeah, I'd go with Genty and Judkins. That's fine by me. Clip sends in a question. Says, 80 Mitchell or Estime, full PPR flex. I'll play 80 Mitchell there. Thank you, sir. G Smooth says, you helped me with telling me K9 on Thursday. Thank you. Congratulations, brother. I'm glad that it panned out for you. Really, really happy about that. Because, trust me, I told people to play Terry McLaurin yesterday, and that didn't go very well. So, again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But just know, no, that's mean. No, listen. Chaos Era, okay? I was joking. I mean, I'm not joking about the Rams absolutely mollywhopping the Bears. That's going to happen, okay? If they cross the path of the LA Rams, you and I both know we got problems there. Like, you guys are going to have to somehow avoid us and hope that the Seahawks play us in the playoffs. Like, otherwise, again. But anyway, have a great Sunday. Thank you. Getting back to the previous question, yeah. There's been, again, every week there are suggestions that I make that go to the absolute shitter. We all know that, right? We've all experienced me making a suggestion and it going the wrong way. But you guys know that I try my best and that I'm doing all that I can in terms of time and effort to try to put us in the right direction. Thank you. All right, CP sends out a question. Says T-Law or Bryce Young for upside. I honestly think there is a conversation regarding Bryce Young being the upside play. Would I make that suggestion to you? No, I would play Trevor Lawrence there. But I think there is a discussion to be had. JM sends it a question. Says, flex Genti or Abuka half PPR? I'd rather play Buka, genuinely. True gentleman for you. Wow. All the absolute OGs are coming out today. Happy holidays, brother. Detroit or the Bengals defense? Honestly, I have Detroit as my number 13 defense of the availables. I think I'd go with the Bengals, but I don't mind if you wanted to just roll with Detroit. I just have an issue with their secondary being the primary problem. All right, Matt sends in a question. Says PPR need one. Chubb, Jalen Warren, AD Mitchell. If I'm playing in a full PPR, AD Mitchell's my starter there. Thank you. Robert says full PPR, Mike Evans, Hampton, Olave. I play Evans and Olave. Hampton sits on my bench. Thank you, man. All right, slowly but surely catching up. Full PPR comes in from Cal. What's up? Says full PPR, pick 2, Jennings, Jameson, and Ladd. Excuse me. I'd just play Jameson, Williams, and Juwan Jennings as my number 1 and 2. Thank you. Izzy Dub sends in a question. Says 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. London, JJ, Abuka, Flowers, Rico, Harvey, Tracy. Okay, you've got a lot of great options. At running back, you should play Harvey and Rico. At wide receiver, wait, I'm so confused. Okay, yeah, wide receiver, we go London, JJ, and Flowers. In the flex, I'm playing Tracy. So Abuka is your bench. Thank you. Rebroker sends in a question. Says, good morning, bro. Full PPR, pick 1 to start. Tony Pollard or Aaron Jones. I would suggest you play Tony Pollard. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Efren sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, start 5 between Collins, Olave, Evans, Jonathan Taylor, Dowdle, Pollard, Carter, Marks. Excuse me. Of these available, if I'm starting 5 in a full PPR, Jonathan Taylor has to start. Collins has to start. Olave has to start. Evans has to start. So then it becomes a matter of, am I playing Marks, Carter, Pollard, or Dowdle? I would play Dowdle. So these are my 5 that I start with. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Randy says, standard Michael Wilson or Michael Carter? I would play Michael Wilson. Thank you, sir. Josh Shepard sends in a question. Says, Coker or Evan Hull in a full PPR? Coker. Thank you. Avram sends in a follow-up question. Thank you, Avram. Says, Irving, Javonte Williams, or Etienne in a half PPR? Etienne's my number 1, Javonte's 2, Irving's 3. Says pick 2 running backs between Henry, Etienne, or Javonte. I would play Henry and Etienne this week. Thank you. Chubes McGee, what's up, brother? Says Marks out. Really? Woody Marks is out, huh? Yes, Woody Marks is out. Okay, cool. So in the event in which we were to adjust the ranking, would I play Jordan over Rico or Brees? No, I wouldn't. Just to kind of give you guys a heads up in terms of these. Hold up. I need to recalibrate. Give me a second here. I'm gonna just really quickly. I want to talk about this because I don't think I'll have time to change the graphic. But maybe I can. Okay. So, I'm just gonna leave this here paused for a couple minutes. Okay, just so we can talk about this. So now that Woody Marks is not available, okay, obviously it makes it easy. We don't have to worry about it. But the question is, where would I have Nick Chubb and theoretically Jahar Jordan? I would anticipate, based on what DeMeco Ryans, the head coach of the Texans, said earlier this week, and the reason why I was willing to pivot to Jahar Jordan in the event in which Woody Marks is out, is because he was very much so confident that he's ran away with the job, and that Nick Chubb, again, prior to this most recent injury, wasn't even getting many looks anyway. So in regards to where I would play Jordan, I would be willing to play him probably overestimate at number 27. So assuming we remove Woody Marks here, Jordan would probably go to, you know what, maybe I play him over Montgomery. It's a little bit sketchy. It's not even that sketchy. Am I playing him over Genty is the question, or Judkins? Okay, maybe I play him over David Montgomery and Jalen Warren. So yes, I would put him at number 25 and I bump David Montgomery down. Okay, so that's kind of where I would have Jahar Jordan today. Thank you guys, appreciate it. Let me go back to the regular slideshow and continue answering questions because again, I have to catch up. Thank you. Okay, continuing on. Thank you again, Troops, for letting me know. But no, I would play Rico and Brees. Boswell or McLaughlin? I would play McLaughlin. Thank you. Nalma says Marks is out. Jawan for SF or Aaron Jones? I would play Jawan Jennings. Thank you. Appreciate that. Then we move on to Woodchuck, who says Abuka, Myers have more upside. Non-PPR need to come back. I think Myers has it. Thank you. Rogo says just following up. What's your take on Hampton? I think the overall opportunity that he's going to be given. My concern is that Vidal just gets too many touches. So unless Hampton was going to get himself a very strong semblance of receiving utilization or a guarantee for a touchdown, I think as a whole, again, the offense and the offensive line is not competent enough within that category for me to feel the utmost confidence. Caleb Graves says, Chubb or Hampton PPR? I would prefer to play Hampton still. Thank you. Yes, I do believe that technically Jordan is a better play than Chubb. Sean Gon says, you have Jacoby higher than Purdy. What changed? Ricky Pearsall's out on Monday. Thank you. Bucky or Rico? If it's a full PPR, give me Bucky. If it's a half PPR standard, give me Rico. Thank you. Let's see here. Shalateco says, in a 12-man full PPR, who do I start in the flex, Abuka or Judkins? In a full PPR, I'll take Abuka there. Thank you, sir. Craig says, half PPR, Jahar Jordan or Estimate? I'll take Jordan there. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Nickel sends in a question, says, in a full PPR start to Judkins, Jalen Warren, Godwin, Kelsey, Montgomery, rank them, please. Yeah, if I was to give you the order in a full PPR, the order would be as such. Travis Kelsey, number 1. Chris Godwin, number 2. Judkins 3, Warren 4, Montgomery 5. Thank you. Let's see here. Start 2 out of 3 in a full PPR. Says Hampton, Jefferson, T. Higgins. T. Higgins 1, Jefferson 2, Hampton 3. So the 2 that I would start are both of your wide receivers in this circumstance. Thank you. Siobhan Patel sends in a question. Says half PPR, pick 1. Estimate Marvin Harrison or Fannin. In a half PPR scoring format. Let me see where I have them ranked. Do I have time? Yeah, we have 5 minutes. Okay. Fannin, Estimate, or Marvin Harrison. I have Marvin Harrison 1 spot ahead of Fannin in a half PPR. I think I would just tell you to play Fannin. If it was my team, I would just tell you to play Fannin for right now. We had a question that came in from Mike Leva. Mike Leva, thank you very much. Says Fannin or Waller? I'll take Fannin there. Thank you, sir. Woody sends in a question. Says questions in the chat. Thank you, Woody. I appreciate that. Says Stranger Warren. As of right now, in terms of rankings on screen, I have Warren 1 spot ahead of Strange. In a full PPR, I'd be willing to go Strange, but in a half PPR standard, I'll take Warren. I think he has higher touchdown upside. Moving on to your other question, Woody says start 3 in a full PPR. Mooney, Strange, Worthy, Wandell, QJ, Diggs, Jennings. Jennings has to play. I think in that case, I think Strange probably has to play, and so does Wandell Robinson. So I go Jennings, Strange, Wandell Robinson. Thank you very much, Woody. Appreciate that, sir. Then we have Isaac Jones, 9488. Says half PPR, Abuka or Michael Carter? I'll take Michael Carter there. Thank you. Shaka Shots says Carter, Judkins, T-Mac. Pick 1 in the flex. Was that a quarter point per reception, quarter point per carry? I'd play Michael Carter out of that group. Shaka, thank you. We had Chris Bentley send in a question, very generous. Says, hey man, sorry about it that earlier. Sometimes my toilet humor doesn't flush very well. Good luck to all. Merry Christmas. Happy festives. And whatever works, get to the chip. Thank you very much. I don't even remember. Oh, okay. Yeah, listen, I saw the question, but I was like, all right, I want to know what the actual question is because I was like, I'm trying to decode what you're even asking because I knew you were going to ask about a kicker, right? Because you put Dicker in there. But anyway, you're good to go there, Chris. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you as well. Maya Fuji sends in a question, says, start 2, Rico, Henderson, Jacoby. Play both Rico and Henderson. Excuse me. Thank you. Ibrahim says Saints just announced Estimate as starter. Yeah, that was expected, but in terms of the overall opportunity share, hopefully it's going to be a more streamlined and it's not going to be a little bit more of a split. Eddie sends in a question, says Michael Wilson or Breece Hall in the flex full PPR. Got to play Michael Wilson there. Thank you. All right, speaking of Michael Wilson, what I want to go ahead and do before these games start, I know that Michael Wilson plays in the afternoon again. Like I mentioned before, the play that I want to go ahead and put together for today's games, guys, via Betr, specifically revolves around Michael Wilson. Again, I really do think he's going to be a great contributor, and so is Jacoby Brissett. I'm taking Jacoby Brissett going more than 37.5 passing attempts. I'm going with Bijan more than 79.5 rushing yards. And then Michael Wilson more than 56.5 receiving yards. It's a 3.5x. I'm going to put a nice little sprinkle of 20 on it. We'll see what comes of it. All in all, 20 to win 70. I'll take that. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Let me go into the live chat. What time is it? 9:58. We have a little bit of time here. Live chat. Let's see what you have here, brother. Jawar Jordan or Darius Slayton full PPR. That's, you know what? Honestly, that's a tough one. In a full PPR, like Slayton is just a guaranteed 10 points. Do you know what I mean? I have a hard time like, shit. I think you should just play Darius Slayton. Don't get cute with it. I think you should just take the 10 points. All right, a couple more questions that were sent in. We had, okay, let me just go ahead and pop these open. We had Greg's who sends in a question. Greg's, thank you. Questions in the chat. It says Andrew Urgent, with Woody out, I need two. Jahar Jordan, Michael Carter, Aaron Jones. I play Michael Carter and I play Aaron Jones. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Then we had a question from Jade, Jaded TV, or Jaded TY, excuse me. Says Stephon Diggs or Jahar Jordan PPR. Let me see where I have Diggs in a full PPR flex rank, and then let me see how I would adjust it accordingly. In a full PPR scoring format, technically speaking, based on where I would have Jordan ranked, I have Stephon Diggs ranked higher in a full PPR. Henry sends in a question, says in a full PPR, I need one wide receiver, one running back, one flex, one tight end, one defense. We have Evans, who starts at wide receiver. You have Etienne, who starts at running back. I'm going to play Schultz as your tight end, and I'm going to play Tracy as your flex, and I'm going to play Bills as your defense. Thank you, Henry. All right, guys, it is 9:59. We are less than 1 minute away from the kickoff of Sunday for Week 16. Best of luck, guys. Hopefully, I will see you guys next week. All things considered, happy holidays if I don't. Happy New Year if I don't. If this is the last time you guys are around, because unfortunately, you know, push comes to shove, and unfortunately, everything kind of goes to the shitter. Hopefully, we'll see you guys next year. Have a great, happy holidays and New Year. But either way, next week, starting tomorrow, talking all things waiver wire pickups for all the injuries that will take place today, which evidently, yes, they're going to take place. But yeah, best of luck, everybody. It's 10 a.m. Sam just sent in a question. Nothing was attached to it. Sam, if you could type in the live chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. I don't see anything from you in the live chat as of yet. Appreciate it. Jahar Jordan, Michael Carter, BTJ, start one. I would just play Michael Carter there. Aaron Jones or Ibuka, PPR. I'm okay with just Aaron Jones. That's fine by me. Standard, Chase Brown or Judkins. I'm going Chase Brown there. Marvin or Jahar Jordan. I'd go Marvin there in a PPR. Sam Bam just get some. That's it. We're good, brother? Okay. If you don't have a question, then we're good to go. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cue the double helix. Have a great rest of your guys' Sunday. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Happy holidays. Enjoy your Sunday. Peace.